large paycheck. That was tough to watch. It definitely was. That was rough. How are you, by the way?
I'm good. I feel like $100. Really as sharp as can be this morning. You know what it is, Dan? Lately, I don't know if it's a sleep thing or what it is. I'm having trouble finding the words. And maybe it's just an old thing. I don't know. But the words don't come as quickly as they used to, for sure. I am not nearly as sharp of wit as I once thought that I was.
Just in general?
Yeah.
Like having a hard time?
Yeah. Maybe it's over. Like Michael would say, maybe now's the time. Maybe it's over.
Do you think, have there been any warning signs that maybe like the end is near or no?
No, not really. Not really. But like, as I said, every time Michael used to say, maybe it's over, maybe now's the time, he got a new contract. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's simply all.
Use it to your advantage. Although, I mean, if you want to go like big picture, like universe Armageddon over, I mean, it does snow every day, which kind of sucks. And I don't know, unless you're a penguin, if you really enjoy that.
I don't know how people in Wisconsin and Minnesota and Montana do this. I don't know how they do this.
I can't.
The thing that really gets me the most is the dirty snow.
Yeah.
Like that is where it really gets disgusting. Is you pull out of your driveway and on the streets, it's just a dirty, ugly slush. And then you get into the city and it's just, as Jon Stewart put the other night, it's just snow covering dog poop. That's basically what it is.
Right. And it was a kick to the teeth where, we had that snow about a month ago, like the big storm on the championship Sunday. And then it was 10 degrees for the next 2 weeks, so the snow never went anywhere. And then finally we had the melting, right? And everything kind of subsided, and we could see the ground again. And lo and behold, here's 2 more feet of snow for you over the weekend.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm looking for. That's not. No. And I got to say, Sunday morning, I was kind of sitting there. It was raining. I'm like, what are they talking about? This is nothing. What are you getting me all fired up for? Honestly. And then the next thing you know, he couldn't move. I don't know.
And what's fantastic about it, too, like, I don't know where these storms get their sense of humor. I really don't. But you know how they always, it's like hit or miss in certain spots, and it could be from like one town to the next, which is basically just like a 5-minute trip from that town to the other town. And yet there could be like, or apparently with this snowstorm, from reading all the projections and the totals and stuff like that, there was like sometimes as large as a 10-inch disparity in how much snow one town got, and then another town 5 minutes away got like 10 more inches.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. I don't understand it, but it seems like everything's okay with the weather pattern, so I'm not going to question it, honestly.
Until the next one.
I'll keep my eyes closed, and I think that's probably the best way to go about it. Ignorance is bliss, Dan, and I'm a very happy guy. Always have been.
Well, we got to keep our eyes closed here because, like I said, if that's what's going to make it not snow anymore, I'm a big proponent of that.
You can be a part of the program by watching on the ESPN New York YouTube channel, by subscribing, and by making your comments in the chat, which Dan and I will reference throughout the course of the next few hours. As we said, Bartholomew is out today. He will be back tomorrow. That was like the late 90s kind of Knick game, but not in any kind of good way. That was a slog fest, as you put it earlier, off the air. It was a rock fight. But it wasn't even the old enjoyable Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley type rock fights. It was just a rock fight that wasn't pleasing to the eye in any way. Even the creamsicle uniforms for the Cavs I couldn't get into. And I love the Tampa Bay Bucks creamsicle uniforms. I think they're fantastic. The whole thing was just an eyesore from top to bottom last night.
And maybe the third quarter was arguably the worst 12 minutes of basketball this team has played all year. Fair?
Yeah.
I mean, not that we've been locked in every quarter of the season, but I mean, look, even if that was your first time watching the Knicks all season long and you just watched that third quarter, you'd say to yourself, I can't imagine an organized basketball team playing a worse 12 minutes than the Knicks played coming out of the locker room, which basically buried them for the night.
So what aspect of it bothered you the most?
There's a lot of things that bother you. I think if, you know what?
Because the reason I ask it that way is the last few days, everybody was seemingly feeling a little bit better. And there probably wasn't a whole lot of reason to feel that much better. It didn't strike me as all of a sudden they woke up after what happened against the Pistons, but there was a general positivity the last few days.
But why does that seem to happen so often with this team? And doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like we take the temperature of this team way too much. And correct me if I'm wrong. Like, if you have a legit championship caliber basketball team, and in this case we're talking basketball. So if you have a basketball team that has aspirations of winning a championship, why do we seem like we're so wishy-washy with this team all of a sudden? Right? Like, you should be pretty much sports talk radio, for example, in Detroit. Do you think that they're sitting there like pressing the panic button, seemingly once a week about the Pistons? Like, I don't know if this team has what it takes this year. I don't know. Right? Like Oklahoma City, are they sitting there worried? Remember, the Thunder went through a cold stretch after the new year where they lost what? Like, they were like a 500 team over like a 15, 20 game span there.
Yep.
They weren't pressing the panic button. And I think it keeps going back to what we perceive this team to be. Like, if you look at the last week since the All-Star break, you come out of the break, you play a good Detroit team, and we all built that up to be a measuring stick game.
Yeah.
And they got annihilated.
Yep.
Right? They got annihilated.
Yep.
Okay, sky was falling for 48 hours. You get to Houston on Saturday night. Now, look, Houston's a good team. I'd say they're a good team, a dangerous team. Kevin Durant, all-time great, even though he's not what he used to be. He's on the back nine of his career. But I don't put Houston in the title contender category.
No. Agreed.
Right now out west, I'll give you Oklahoma City, Denver, San Antonio that I think are better equipped to win a championship than Houston. And the Knicks had to have a furious comeback to win that game on their home floor. And that would have been another bad loss. Okay, so they dodged that. Then you go to Chicago the next night. All right, tail end of a back-to-back, but the Bulls stink. You're supposed to beat them. They beat them. Then you again get that quality opponent, a new-look Cavalier team, on the road, and it's a mail-in. So you've played two good teams since the All-Star break, and you look poor in both of them. You beat two other teams that you probably, by all accounts, should beat, and they take care of business. What do we learn about this team since the All-Star break with 4 games under our belt?
Are we still going to operate under the assumption that we did last year, that even though it doesn't mean anything during the regular season to lose to good teams, that they're going to be able to flip the switch and it's going to happen? Because that's what it feels like everybody's just relying on.
Yeah, and I don't think you can do that. I mean, I was talking about that last week. Like, I don't think you can. Like one year to the next, it might as well be an eternity in sports. I know that, like, from a fan standpoint, you like to look at it as, well, there is a lot of continuity. Like, much of the roster is exactly the same, with the exception of a few notables, on the bench and stuff like that. And, oh, by the way, you got a brand new coach, which I think, to me, is the biggest component here, right? Because we don't know how the Mike Brown Knicks are going to fare in the playoffs. And I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, but all summer long, we said it's not about the regular season with this team. It's what happens when you get to the playoffs, and that is what this coach and this team and then this front office are going to be judged upon. But I'll ask you this question right now, and I'll ask all the Knicks fans right now. On the 25th day of February with, let's see, little over 20 games remaining in the regular season, does this team have the look and the feel of a championship contender right now, especially in the Eastern Conference?
No. Pretty simple for me. Absolutely not. And you know when you're going to see it again? You're going to see why they're not? You're going to see it on Sunday. Like Milwaukee, I don't know what's going to happen. They'll probably win in Milwaukee on Friday. But Sunday, when San Antonio comes in and slaps you around on national TV on ABC, you will see again why you are not in that ballpark. And you can continue to use whatever you want as an excuse. They don't beat good teams because, I mean, they might be a top 4 team in the East, but I don't really know what that says anymore. First of all, I don't want to be in the 4 spot because that means I'm getting the Pistons in round 2.
No,
I got to push that off as far as I can, right?
Nope. 1,000%.
Yeah, and even if I end up in that 4 spot, I don't know where my confidence level is supposed to come from right now because, and I hate to do this because he has been the guy who has caught all of the flack this year. How does somebody the size of Karl Anthony Towns play 29 minutes and take 5 shots? How does that happen?
And one in the final 3 quarters.
And one in the final 3 quarters.
Yeah.
So I was asking the question this morning, and I was almost going to go back and look it up, and you started to go back and look it up. But it had already been a game note thanks to our people at ESPN Research. Cat had 14. Pretty quiet night. Played 29-03. Attempted 5 field goals. Made all 5. That is his second most minutes played in a game. with 5 or fewer field goal attempts in his career. The other time, again, he played 29:03 last night. In 2022, he played a game against Oklahoma City where he played 29 minutes and 14 seconds. So he played 11 seconds more in that game and have 5 shot attempts.
And provide context on that game. His team won by 30.
Yeah.
So the need for him to take shots and to create offense was next to nothing, as opposed to his team being behind most of the night, and they need his production to try to win the game.
What am I missing here? Like, Dan, one of my favorite sayings, not just in life, but in not just in sports, but in life, is when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
Cat continues to show us who he is. And that's somebody that is never going to demand the basketball, is never going to look at mismatches and do everything he can to make sure that he's dominating. He's not a killer in any way. And that Shaq interview the other night even really drove that point more home because he wasn't getting it from Shaq. Shaq wasn't trying to say, you need to make sure you get all the credit. That's what Cat thought he was saying. Shaq was saying, you need to play your best and be a dog.
Right.
And Cat's not a dog, so to speak.
Well, and the thing last night, like we were talking about it earlier, like, okay, 5 shots. Is that on him? Is that on him not being aggressive?
At some point, though, doesn't it have to be on him when you're in the second half and you haven't seen the ball since the first quarter or you haven't taken a shot since the first quarter? Like, at one point in the second half, I do think that one shot attempt was him actually in the paint. Might have even been calling for the ball because he had a severe mismatch and went in for a lay-in. But, like, it's not like he's eager to go after Jared Allen. He's not eager to go after anybody. And I don't understand it. When you have that physicality to you, I get the mentality of not being a mean guy, but there's got to be something there, doesn't there?
Well, that's what I mean. If you're not a rookie, second year, if you're a young player in the league, maybe you're still trying to pick your spots. This guy's been in the league, a decade? He's a how-many-time All-Star? He's a how-many-time All-NBA? It comes to a point, you referenced the Shaq interview. Demand the ball.
Yeah.
Go over to the coaching staff. Go to Mike Brown. Give me the damn ball. Take a page out of Keyshawn's book. Give me the damn ball. And we don't know the answer to the question. I guess Cat's going to get the blame, but when you take only 5 shots, is that the player? Is that the quote-unquote system? A system, by the way, which since day one, the player and the coach have acknowledged that maybe he's not the best fit for the system. So who does that fall on? And you have a game last night where it's one-way traffic for the opposition. Your star player, one of your star players, has no impact on the game whatsoever. And I go back to the 2 games over the weekend because Cat was good in those games. And all the things that we were reading and hearing over those 2 days were, you see the type of difference that Karl-Anthony Towns makes? Look at what kind of version the Knicks are when he's playing like this. They're a championship caliber team. Now all of a sudden he has a disappearing act, and we're sitting here saying this team might not even make the conference finals. So
here is Mike Brown on Cat and the offensive opportunities that were not there.
Yeah, I know for sure. And we, no matter what we did, we either turned the ball over or we had a tough shot. And so we made some play calls tonight, but we didn't generate anything from the calls that we made.
And he was asked specifically, could more be done to have gotten Cat offensive opportunities? I want to hear a little bit more of this because frankly, I was just annoyed that I didn't listen to the postgame last night. I didn't have it in me after sitting through that slog. But here he is on what happened in the third quarter. This should be good.
Again, our pace was not good at all, whether in the full court or even in the half court. I mean, they scored 23 points, and we scored 11. And so, there were some things that we could have done better defensively, granted, but our offense was non-existent in terms of the pace, our ability to touch the paint, play off a 2, and spray the basketball, us making quick, decisions with it, whether to shoot it or to drive it or move it. All that stuff came to play in that third quarter for us offensively.
So, go ahead, Dan.
I'm so glad you played that cut.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know which cut it was, but the one specifically, because I didn't hear it, I just read the comment after the game when he brought up pace.
Yeah.
We've got to play with pace. I wanted to throw my computer to the ground when I read that last night because how many games did I say the Knicks played? Like, I don't have the record in front of me. It's, we're close to 60 games,
there's
that?
about 21 games left, I believe.
Okay.
They're 37 and 22. There's 23 games left.
Okay, so we're 59 games in. You throw in the extra game with the NBA Cup, which doesn't count in the standings. So we've played, in essence, 60 games.
Right.
That is a lot of inventory. That is a large sample size. I really, if you're a fan, you're almost insulted a little bit when the head coach is going to sit there and tell you 60 games into the season that they have to play with more pace when they haven't played with pace all year. Do you know what the Knicks rank in pace this year, Chris? They're 24th in the NBA. There's 30 teams. So 60 games into the season, if there's only 6 teams that play slower than the Knicks do, what makes Mike Brown think that on February the 25th that all of a sudden he's going to snap his fingers and all of a sudden they're going to look like the Harlem Globetrotters out there?
I have no idea. It all makes me think, Dan, when I hear about system and fit and all of that. It's not the same thing. Don't get me wrong, okay? Like when we're talking about whether or not we should be blaming Cat or we should be blaming Mike Brown. It's not the same thing in the NFL, but what I always point to is the coaches that are too married to their system are the ones that usually end up getting fired. I mean, more coaches than not. I mean, coaches get fired for different reasons, but those guys who are more of the mentality of we have to be able to play my system, and if this guy's not a great fit for my system, then he's not a great fit. No. You have to be able to play to your roster.
Yep.
And your system has to fit around the roster. And when I say it doesn't compare to the NFL, it's the same thing with offensive and defensive systems. And it's why, outside of Brady, okay, one of the biggest reasons that Belichick was as successful as he was, because Bill never asked about what you couldn't do or worried about what you couldn't do as a player. He was going to put you in a position to be successful with the things that you did well. Like there were years, they literally took defensive backs off the street in the playoffs and went in there and played well with them. Why? Because he didn't put them in losing situations for them.
Or he took wide receivers, i.e. Troy Brown, and made them defensive backs
about that.
in the playoffs. And
think about how absurd that thought is now.
Yeah. No, but you're 1,000% right, and that's why I think you could use the football. Look, any coach has to put his players in position to be successful. That's what the good ones do. You know, you want to go back to the New England thing. I mean, they were like known as being notorious chameleons because their game plan would change from one week to the next. Their style of play would change from one week to the next, contingent upon who the opponent was that they were playing. And I understand that basketball is 82. It's not. Well, back then it was 16 games, but you get my point. You know, you're playing 3-4 games a week. You're not playing one a week. I understand it's a little trickier. But at the same token, if a guy is not a fit for the system, and I'm talking about a guy who's an accomplished player, you better find ways to coexist at least for a season, because if you find out at the end of the year that the team comes up woefully short, and then you have to make sure, like, look, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here. But let's have a real, come to Jesus conversation about this team and how it could, possibly end for them. If the Knicks, let's say, don't even reach the conference finals this year, how much certitude do you have that either the head coach or Karl Anthony Towns is probably not going to be a member of the Knicks organization next year?
I mean,
either or.
Well, one of them's going to be gone.
That's what I mean. So
one of them's definitively going to be gone.
Something is going to change. Because remember, their words, not yours, not mine, not any of ours. Their words. The previous head coach was the one that was holding them back to winning a championship.
But let me ask you this. Will the owner at this point be willing to look stupid again? Because he's going to look stupid.
It's not even necessarily so much that. I don't know how much you can pin on Mike Brown in the sense that Mike Brown wasn't even their first choice. It's not like Mike Brown was out there, which he was. Okay, he was out there. But they didn't fire Tom Thibodeau to hire Mike Brown specifically.
No, they did not.
That wasn't the case. They fired Tom Thibodeau and then interviewed or kicked the tires around how many different people? Didn't correct me if I'm wrong, because again, it seems like an eternity ago. Didn't James Borrego get a freaking interview?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember I even heard Dan Hurley at the beginning of it, but the fact that they got to the James Borrego level.
Right. Because it was basically, okay, we got turned down by this guy. I don't remember how many different ones they got. Jason Kidd they couldn't get. They wanted Jason Kidd. There was another guy. Why am I blanking? Wasn't there somebody else that they wanted and they couldn't get him?
But
my point is finally they get down to their
together now at this point, man.
Right. They get down to their 4th, 5th choice, and then it's Mike Brown, and this is where we are right now. So, like I said, you could say that the organization would look bad by bagging a head coach after one season, but I'm just going along with what they said. They said that for us to win a championship, it wasn't a personnel issue, it was a coaching issue. And that is what was holding us back. So, you know what? On paper, the team looks a little bit better, right? It's deeper. You like the bench more than maybe you had last year. So if you come up short and don't even make the conference finals in an Eastern Conference where before the season started, they were the favorites to come out of the conference, were they not?
Mm-hmm.
They were the ones. They were the odds-on favorites to at least get to the NBA Finals. And if now you weren't even one of the top 2, let's say, if you get bounced in, let's say, round 2, I don't know how you digest that.
I really want to know from people today at 800-919-3776 and also on the chat over on the ESPN YouTube channel where you can subscribe and get involved and get some of these in. A lot of Fire Mike Browns in here. I really want to know, why are you so convinced that this switch is just going to get flipped? Where is that thought process? Because I saw it a lot the other night with the fans that we were hanging out with at the watch party during the Pistons game. There was a lot of Knicks fans waving at Bart and a couple of other Piston fans in the building. All right, we'll see. Playoffs, You've gotten your ass handed to you 3 times by that team this year, which has gone out of their way to embarrass you each time.
And I don't know if you can run that back again this year and just say, you know what, history is going to repeat itself. We're going to catch lightning in a bottle again. This is 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row, we're against top-tier championship-caliber teams. They're coming up woefully short.
You think the Knicks would win right now if they were matched up with the Celtics in the playoffs?
I'll ask you. Let me retort with a question to you. If the Knicks and Celtics had a best-of-7 starting tomorrow, the Knicks going to get the edge on the bench? When I say the bench, the coaching matchup?
No.
Okay.
No. They had it last year.
Mm-hmm.
Bart Carlin, ESPN New York. Dan Grassa is in for Bart. 800-919-3776. Get the comments in on the chat as well. Again, here we go. Yeah, a lot of Fire Mike Brown. We'll get all of the comments in. Well, not all of them. Like the decent ones.
87% of them.
Again, numbers heavy. Think 13. Anyway, Bart Carlin, ESPN New York.
Rich Eisen here. For small businesses, every hire counts, and so does your time. Hiring can quickly become overwhelming, from sorting applications to figuring out who's truly qualified. That's where LinkedIn Hiring Pro helps. It streamlines the process so you can focus on connecting with the right candidates, not managing the noise. Hire right the first time. Post your job and get $100 off towards your job post at linkedin.com/Eisen. That's linkedin.com/Eisen. Terms and conditions apply.
Empower. Ellie here is getting the sleeve she's always dreamed of. She worked with Empower and planned for her next move, so she got good at money. Now she can be a little bad. Oh, by the way, you spelled journey wrong. No worries. She can afford the cover-up, too. Ooh, check out my tat. It says, invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
It's been a tough travel morning with the weather moving through, snow and a mixed bag of precipitation. Last to stop on Long Island, so that's going to be the last to improve. Improving conditions on the Van Wyck northbound side, but an accident blocking the right lane at Linden Boulevard. In Westchester, Armonk northbound 684, 2 accidents, one at exit 3 and one at exit 4 in the right lane. Hempstead Turnpike eastbound side of Farmingdale, an accident on the ramp to the southbound Bethpage Parkway area. Rockland County, New York State Thruway at the Garden State Parkway connector, a crash crash on the shoulder. And in New Jersey, the latest, Garden State Parkway northbound exit 120 at Matawan, a crash on the side. Path has signal delays and issues and no service on the World Trade Center to Newark line. New Jersey Transit is cross-honoring. I'm Bob Williams on 880 ESPN New York.
Be part of it isn't just a slogan. 2026 season tickets are on sale now, and this is your chance to join the tradition and legacy of the New York Yankees. Purchase a plan and enjoy the best seat locations, significant savings, and flexible payment options. Plans start at just 9 games. Log on to Yankees.com, call 212-YANKEES, or email seasontickets@Yankees.com. For 2026 Yankees season tickets, email seasontickets@Yankees.com today.
Hey, it's Alan Hahn. Rings End is your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. They're your store for quality with a full line of brilliant and durable Benjamin Moore paints. They're your store for inspiration with thousands of colors and a variety of sheens. And Rings End is your store for expertise with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. Insist on Benjamin Moore paint from Rings End because the gorgeous color you love can't be matched in another brand of paint.
If you've been injured on a construction site, then you need a lawyer who knows New York's unique labor laws. At the Parisman Firm, they have decades of experience handling construction accident cases and a proven track record of delivering huge results. Their team has already recovered nearly $1 billion for hardworking New Yorkers. From scaffold accidents to slip and falls and equipment failures, they've got your back. Call the Parisman Firm now at 718-WORKERS. That's right, 718-WORKERS, because your case is their cause. Get the justice you deserve today.
Think premium meat has to come with a premium price? Not at Wild Fork Foods. Right now, Brazilian beef tenderloin is only $10 a pound, and Atlantic salmon portions are just $9.98 a pound. That's incredible value on premium cuts. Plus, Wild Fork offers over 450 meat and seafood options, all blast frozen to lock in freshness and flavor. Visit one of their 7 locations across Long Island and New Jersey, or get same-day delivery at wildforkfoods.com.
This is Rick Brunson, the assistant coach from the New York Knicks. I'll be driving to our games this season in style in my new Jeep Gladiator from Princeton Jeep. My friends at Princeton Jeep gave me all-star treatment, and you can expect the same thing. Just mention I sent you, and they'll treat you like family. Princeton Jeep has tons of inventory and great deals on new vehicles. Visit Princeton Jeep at 1045 State Road in Princeton, New Jersey, or online at PrincetonJeeps.com and tell them Rick Brunson sent you.
It starts with the first early morning, the uniform, the training, the challenge. Every trooper remembers day one at the academy. But where they end up, no two stories are the same. At the New York State Police, the path you take is up to you. If you're ready for a career with endless opportunities for growth, start here. Go anywhere. Apply today at joinstatepolice.ny.gov.
Empower. Pete's back on the links with all new golf clubs and hopefully less swearing.
Dang, sliced it.
He worked with Empower to help him get good at money, so he can be a little bad.
Heads up!
Oof. Talent sold separately.
Guy said these were slice-proof.
At least he has money for lessons. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
It affects it, but we have to get to a point, and the reality of it is our offense wasn't flowing against Chicago, our offense wasn't flowing against Houston, and we found a way to bring some sort of energy, and especially defensively, to the game. And then offensively, we were able to play with pace in those 2 games and got some easy baskets in transition. We were running through mud tonight no matter what happened, and that's what was different than the other 2 nights.
We're getting a lot of different comments here. It's Bart Carlin on ESPN New York. Dan Graca in for Bart today. Bart will be back tomorrow. The chat coming in at ESPN New York's YouTube channel. Go there and subscribe and watch the show. there's a couple of different things. A lot of arguments, tsunami checking, and all due respect, it falls on the coach knowing that Towns is soft and not going to demand the ball. Then they're talking about Towns passing out. Cook, KT, he fed the beast passed out. And so there's like an argument that they should just keep passing it back into him every time Towns passes out of the post. Give it right back to him. No, force it down his throat.
One of the things we talked about before the show was, what's one thing to me that's a little concerning. Like, if you rewind a couple of years ago when the Knicks beat up the Cavs in the playoffs, and remember, like, those guys had a couple of bigs that year with Jarrett Allen and company, and they had a real, real good season. The Knicks, like, dominated them in the paint. Dominated them. Like Jarrett Allen was almost called, like, a pretender after that series. Like, you can't take him seriously because of what the Knicks did to him. Last night, it was the complete opposite. It really and truly was. And I don't know about Cleveland big picture-wise because, again, like in a huge spot in the playoffs, like James Harden's somebody that I don't, I'm not going to, right? Yeah. When has he ever led a team to the NBA Finals, right? And this is also a Cleveland team that fell woefully short in the playoffs last year compared to what they did in the regular season. So maybe they have a little chip on their shoulder, whatnot, but I can't sit there and say that, they're a team to beat. But I think the important thing is for the Knicks, like you said, stay the hell out of the 4 spot. They better finish either second or third because the Pistons are the team that you have to avoid at all costs until the last possible scenario.
No doubt. Derek in Hillside is going to start us off today on ESPN New York. Derek, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Carlin? What's going on, guys? How y'all doing today?
Good.
Let's get into it. For weeks now, I mean, Carlin, I've been calling in, talking basketball with you guys and been pointing the blame, not at Carl, because, again, we keep pointing at Carl. He's a big man. He can't pass the ball to himself. I'm watching that game last night. He had 11 points into the second quarter. For the rest I think like 4 minutes going into that first half, they didn't even look for him. You got Mikal Bridges shooting 13 shots in the first half. Why is he doing that? Why has he even got the green light to do that? You're a 4th option. That is all on Mike Brown. I've been saying it for the longest. They made a mistake firing Tom Thibodeau, hiring Mike Brown. He's never led any team to anything without LeBron James. When you look at his track record, when he was in Sacramento, Sabonis wasn't a dominant scorer. He was beneficial at having Sabonis being a playmaker for him. And when he was in Cleveland, he never had a big man to really cater to. He does not know what to do with big men. And on the side of that, you got Brunson, who's trying to be Allen Iverson out there, not looking for Carl. You cannot have that going on when Carl is the guy that helps you get to the Eastern Conference Final. He's the only player that we complain about, but he's been on 2 different teams that been to the Western Conference Final and the Eastern Conference Final. And the common denominator is the fact that he's a dominant player. So y'all got to stop with he's soft. He's a timid player, but he plays the finesse European-style play, with the same thing that you see in Jokic and the same thing you see in Victor Wembanyama. Yes, we would like him to be a lot more demanding.
I mean, Derek, you got to admit, Derek, you have to admit, there are times where you just want the guy to demand the basketball.
Right.
I agree it's annoying, but what we got to understand, he's a team guy. So he's not going to sit there and be like, yo, give me the ball. And
Derek,
you got to understand that's just who he is.
Derek, didn't his old team, too, get to the conference finals last year without him?
Yeah, but at the same time, he got there with him, too.
Listen.
Just saying.
When it doesn't fall off a cliff like that, when you lose a talent like that, doesn't that raise a red flag?
Right. So, and the other thing we got to ask ourselves, too, like, and I'm not even going to lump last year's team in on this, even though they made it to the conference finals. Is this a tough team?
No.
I think this was the question that I had on Friday after that Detroit game. Is this a tough team? Because, Pistons are a tough team. They're a physical team. You watch this Knicks team play, 60 games this year. Is this a tough team? Is this a physical team? Because I don't think the Knicks have been a tough physical basketball team for 2 years now.
I think what's really interesting, too, is that's what we all here gravitate to and take our pride in, is the gritty, the tough, why they love the 90s Knicks, even though they didn't win a championship. They came close, but even though they didn't win a championship, why that will always be a legendary team is what the mentality of that team was. And for the first few years of Tibbs, it was similar, but it ain't now.
No, that went out the window prior to last year.
When they made the Cat trade.
When they made the Cat trade, and look, I don't blame them for Hartenstein. Like, that was economics. He had to go. Like,
they couldn't do anything with it.
They couldn't, right. Unless Isaiah Hartenstein was the most charitable person on planet Earth, which he was never going to take that much less. So, like, you lose those guys, right? The DiVincenzo's, the Randalls, the Hartensteins. And essentially, they decided to change that for run and gun, offensive firepower, and, for lack of a better term, finesse. You know, they become a finesse basketball team. And it's been like this now for about a year and a half. So when they come up short against a team like Detroit, and when they look like they're getting out-muscled, and they look like they don't have that grit, coming back from 18 down or whatever against Houston, like, that doesn't make you tough.
No, it doesn't.
You know, that's not toughness. You know, okay, you're resilient.
Well, the first question, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Because the first question on the postgame with Chuck and Kenny and those guys.
Yeah.
And I think it was Kenny who asked Chuck, did the Knicks win this game or did the Rockets lose it?
Right.
And it's, you know, we gave the Knicks some credit there, but when you blow an 18-point lead to start a fourth quarter, you played a major role in it.
And by the way, I was just looking this up because you referenced already looking ahead to Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
With San Antonio. San Antonio is going to play the Brooklyn Nets Thursday night at Barclays Center, which is going to be a walk in the park for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially they have a night off on Thursday. Then they'll be off on Friday and Saturday, already in the city, waiting for the Knicks game on Sunday.
For 1 o'clock on Sunday.
For a 1 o'clock on Sunday. So essentially, 2.5 days free. So it's not like they're coming in on the tail end of a back-to-back, quick turnaround, anything. Like, the Spurs should have no excuse to not be able to give them their best that afternoon.
Subi in Midtown is up next. Subi, what's going on, dude? How are you?
Let's go back to the trade deadline when obviously all the Giannis talk was going on, and regarding Collins and Towns. He's been coddled from day one because Leon Rose and Jim Dolan are protecting him. But let's go back to the trade deadline. No one wanted to make any other moves, and now the moves they made are not panning out, and we're just blaming the players. Collin Towns is what he is, and at the end of the day, Brunson needs to step up and really get in Karl Anthony Towns' face, because that's what that's the only thing that's going to
get him the ball more.
I think just getting in his face but getting the ball more, that's what he was trying to do from day one. So at the end of the day, we can't really blame Collins and Towns. He is what he is. And at the end of the day, would this team have been better off to make a different type of move at the trade deadline if it wasn't for Giannis, and try to make a unique move like the Cavs did with Harden? There was other players out there, and at the end of the day, OG is not stepping up either like he has in the past.
But Subi, what did you want him to do? Like, seriously. Like, it takes two to tango. Like, you mentioned a unique move. Like, bringing in a guy who's a future Hall of Famer is not a unique move. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to go out there and say, hey, you know what, bringing a guy like James Harden, despite the fact that he's a flawed player, that it won't help our team to a certain degree. Like, the Knicks just can't pick up the phone and put on a ski mask and go rob the Bucks and say, give us Giannis, because he's going to make us better, and we're going to give you our garbage. That's not how trades work in the NBA.
Let me ask you something before I'm going to send a note and ask if I can get this statistic, but would this tell you anything? Would you be interested in this, or do you think it's a superfluous kind of stat?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know what the percentage is of Brunson's assists came on cat baskets. Would you have any interest in that, or do you think that's not going to tell us anything?
It could. I think,
if it was astonishingly low.
But see, the reason I think about that is because Jalen Brunson, do you think of him as a pass first or a score first?
No, a score first point guard.
That's what I mean. So, like, assist stuff for him, like, it's kind of, like I said, it wouldn't hurt, but I look at Brunson as a score first guard anyways.
Right. And you're probably right, because I'm sure that number will not be absurd if I asked it to get looked up. Like, if you told me, like, less than 20%, I'd be like, wow. I'd be kind of blown away. But you're right. He doesn't pass enough first to really do that. So at what point, Dan, does some of this even maybe become a little bit more incumbent upon Brunson to make sure that Cat's getting more involved?
Well, is it on Brunson, or is it more on the way they play basketball, period? Right? Like, are they a ball-dominant team? like when you think about the Knicks and the way they go about their business right now, like if you look at the assist numbers, Knicks are, not bad. They're probably around top dozen, somewhere around there. And in a perfect world, you'd love to be able to see that ball moving around constantly and, that creates some good looks for you. But, some days you're not going to be able to pull that off depending on the team you're going to go up against.
It's Bart Carlin, ESPN New York, on the ESPN New York YouTube channel. Go there, make your comments, subscribe, and, get involved in the show. Easiest way to do it. Jason Smith saying, what good is finesse when you can't shoot? Well, Cat was actually shooting better from three before last night in the last couple of games. It's just the three-point shot in terms of the attempts were down. Last night, just the attempts, period, weren't there.
And what was that thing I told you before the game? Before the show, 3 of the 5 worst shooting games the Knicks have had this year have come in the month of February. 3 of the 5 worst. And February, remember, you had the All-Star break, so you didn't play basketball for a week. Like, how many games have the Knicks actually played this month? And they account for 3 of the 5 worst days at the office they've had shooting the ball all year.
Bart Carlin, ESPN New York.
It's a battle of Big East Titans when 15 francs.
KarmaBrands.com.
Ever want to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. NBA futures let you lock in your pick for who you think will go all the way, whether it's a team to win the championship or a conference title. Visit FanDuel.com/local to get started. Ever want to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. NBA futures let you lock in your pick for who you think will go all the way, whether it's a team to win the championship or a conference title. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 and over, physically present in New York. No purchase necessary. Limit 1 entry per profit boost token. Option required. Must apply profit boost token on select market. Restrictions apply. See full terms, including methods of entry, at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 877-8-OPEN-Y or text OPEN-Y 467-369.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
There are a lot of reasons why people buy at Ramsey Mazda. It's their selection, it's their customer service, and it's their savings. Lease a new 2026 Mazda CX-30 2.5S Select Sport all-wheel drive for $209 for 33 months. Start shopping now at RamseyMazda.com. Choose wisely. Choose Ramsey Mazda. Call 833-853-2970 for details. VIN TM105852. MSRP $29,530. Zero security deposit ends 3/2/26.
Evan Cohen here. In life, as in sports, the pros make it look easy. That's why pro golfers like Jason Day, Ben Griffin, and Patton Kazire trust the pros in lawn care. True Green. They have the experience and expertise to give you a lawn worthy of the PGA Tour. And since True Green does the work for you, you get more free time, or more tee times. So stop stressing over your lawn and start loving it. Sign up now at TrueGreen.com, because nobody makes it easier to get a golf course quality lawn than True Green, the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover's accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Step inside the game you love with the NBA app. Tap to watch every game as it's happening.
Jalen Brunson does it again!
And never miss a moment of the jaw-dropping action. Get closer to the players than anywhere else. Follow the latest schedules, scores, and stats. Keep up with every story from across the league. And with NBA ID, it's all personalized to you. The game lives here. Download today.
Comments coming in on the chat right now at ESPN New York's YouTube channel. It's a little chippy in the chat right now. Brian Scan, poor roster construction. Biggest need was a distributing big point guard to play next to Brunson. I don't know that you were going to have a distributing big point guard play next to Brunson when Brunson is as ball dominant as he is.
Well, and when did you want that acquisition to be made? Like at the trade deadline? Are we still like caught up on the trade deadline, or was this something like for the summer? Like what? I don't understand. Like when?
Yeah,
I wanted this done.
I don't exactly know, and those are not things that necessarily grow on trees. I will say though, a guy that Bart has always backed up as having a nice guy on your bench and someone that you hope Alvarado is this kind of player. Dennis Schroeder is a tough player. He's a pain in the ass.
But Dennis Schroeder's been, I mean,
he's been on 90 teams, I know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's making
like
a run.
He's a pain in the ass on the court and off.
Right. He's a guy that, I mean, shoot, he was in Brooklyn, right? I mean, like, he's right. He's a guy that you'd like to have on your team, and if you're going up against him, you know, he annoys the heck out of you. But, yeah, why has he moved around so much?
No, I agree. John Uribe, Cat and Brunson just don't mix. If the game plan is for one of them to take over, the other gets too lazy. It never fails. That might be oversimplifying it a bit.
Well, you know what the problem is? It's like the Knicks went all in on this starting five before last season. Did they? Right? They did.
Yeah.
They went all in on this starting five, and that's why you could make a case that over the last couple of years, this is one of the better starting fives if they all play up to, you know, the back of their card that there is in the NBA. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen because you have guys that go through these disappearing acts, and somebody, you know, unfortunately, you hate to keep, like, you know, get on the guy, but somebody like Mikal Bridges, like, you know, for 5 first-round picks, that's not what you should be getting in return. And I know that he's asked to play a role on this team, and he's having to make sacrifices, and he's not going to be as big of a scorer as he used to be. And I know that he helped you win a couple of games in the playoffs last year defensively against the Celtics. I get all that stuff. But, I mean, let's be real. If 5 first-round picks could get you a guy like Giannis, and that's what the Knicks decided to go all in for, it does leave you feeling like you want more.
Well, that's the problem. When ultimately he costs you getting Giannis.
Right.
That whole thing, that's where it's really going to burn you. That's where it's going to hurt the most. And listen, could talk about those games defensively last year. If we're being truthful about it, he's not been the same defensive player he was when he was in Phoenix.
No.
Not even close.
I think that both of these guys, him and OG, and I know that, look, I know OG's good, but OG, unfortunately, if he's your best defender, and if you're going to put him on a guy like we see when they played Detroit, Cade Cunningham, Cade, unfortunately, the speed, OG has problems keeping up with him, especially out on the perimeter. Now, I'm going to give OG a pass. Like, OG was horrible again last night. OG's playing with 9 toes. Like, I'm honestly going to give him a pass for the time being for what we see. Like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, like what he's going through with the toenail. Like, it cost him 4 games before he's trying to gut it out here. But still, this is far from a perfect scenario that this Knicks team has now been constructed to be with 20-something games left in the season.
Last one, Marcus Blackman checking in. You're 15 games over 500, and y'all are complaining. The Knicks could have won by 40 last night, and you still would find something to complain about. It's a terrible way to live life. Well, A, it's called sports radio. Secondly, it is how I live my life. Third, I would not be complaining right now if they won by 40 last night. I would be lauding them for winning by 40 and for doing it on the road against a good team, which they do not do. They do not do that.
Well, that's what this team is measured against. Like if the Knicks, if you came into this season talking about this team and the expectations, like if they were just an average team, right? And you said, well, you know what? If things break right, maybe, just maybe, they can finish ahead of the play-in tournament. You know, you can get in the top 6. Then a game like last night you don't complain about. But when you come into the season and you are the odds-on favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference and to get to the NBA Finals, and you got 2 All-Stars on your team, right? Yeah, when you go up against good teams on the road, those are measuring stick games in the NBA. And less than a week ago, you got embarrassed in one of those games on your home floor. What else are you going to be measured against in an 82-game regular season? We're supposed to pump the brakes, Chris, because they won the NBA Cup?
No. I get people want. Do you have a visceral reaction whenever you hear the words NBA Cup now? Because I kind of do. Like the annoyance just sets right in.
When I hear NBA Cup, I have to actually do a double take and stop and think and say, like, wait a sec, NBA Cup, is that that the in-season? The in-season to NBA Cup in-season.
Isn't this what it's Premier League?
Right.
Stuart in the Bronx, next, ESPN New York. Stu, what's going on, dude?
Hey, what's going on? I love the show, man. Listen, you're 100% right, man. If you're going to put a team together like this, we don't have physical 90 team or 22 and 20, 23 and 22 team with Randolph and all of them. We have finesse now we're supposed to have, right? So Mike talks about running it up and down. Well, they need to play like that. They need to play. If you're going to put something out there like you're trying to, like the Warriors or back in the days like Magic Johnson, Showtime, then you got to play like that for 48 minutes. You can't, and like you said, you got like this passing. The way they pass the ball is horrible. They don't even know how to pass a ball. And Bridges jumping up like a grasshopper all the time, just shooting from anywhere. They don't have no plan here, man. That's what's so disappointing. They don't have no identity. I don't know where the Knicks are going. They up 15. They got 15 games above 500. I got that, but they don't look like that type of team when you see them play. I don't know where it starts at, but I know Mike Brown has to do better.
Look, Stu, you're right. And Dan, for the 35 assistant coaches on the bench, can somebody figure it out?
By the way, I mean, remember in the NBA, there was a time you had a head coach, and I'm not talking about the 1950s.
Yeah.
I'm talking like the early 2000s, for crying out loud. Okay? You had a head coach. You had 2 to maybe 3 assistants tops and a trainer.
Yeah.
And then you had the players. That's what would be on the bench. Now there's literally, as you said, 3 rows of assistant coaches. Like, and that's what cracks me up. Like, we have a commercial, like we laugh about it. We have a commercial on our air with Rick Brunson for Princeton G.
Where else does Rick Brunson get an endorsement?
So, like, in the commercial, it's funny. Like, the way he says it is, this is Rick Brunson, the assistant coach. He says the assistant coach for the Knicks. And I'm like, which one of the 30 is that? Every time I hear it.
I would argue, like, we always joke about, like, what's the best job? Is it ex-college football coach or ex-NBA coach? I would argue it's current NBA assistant. No responsibility.
Yep.
Probably very good salary, and, man, you are living a tremendous life.
Whenever I hear about somebody in the NBA, like coaching, they come from this, they come from that, or whether they're up for a college head coaching job or something, like he was an assistant coach with so-and-so, and my first reaction is, was he a row 2 or a row 3 guy?
Bart Carlin, Grassa, in for Bart, ESPN New York.
A SoFi personal loan is here to help you achieve something once thought impossible, overcoming high-interest credit card debt. Walk the tightrope of your finances with one low, fixed-rate monthly payment, no fees required, and as soon as the same-day funding. That's right. Pull off your own debt-defying stunt with a SoFi personal loan. Visit SoFi.com/trick to learn more. Loans originated by SoFi Bank, N.A., member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. NMLS 696891.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
This is Rick Brunson, the assistant coach from the New York Knicks. I'll be driving to our games this season in style in my new Jeep Gladiator from Princeton Jeep. My friends at Princeton Jeep gave me all-star treatment, and you can expect the same thing. Just mention I sent you, and they'll treat you like family. Princeton Jeep has tons of inventory and great deals on new vehicles. Visit Princeton Jeep at 1045 State Road in Princeton, New Jersey, or online at PrincetonJeeps.com. And tell them Rick Brunson sent you.
Hey Yankees fans, gather a group of 10 or more and take advantage of our 2026 Yankees group ticket specials. Whether you're getting together with family and friends, organizing a fundraiser, or entertaining clients, your group will love bonding over the Bronx Bombers. Start planning your 2026 group outings today. Log on to Yankees.com/groups. Call 212-YANKEES or email us at groups@Yankees.com. That's 2026 group tickets. Call 212-YANKEES or visit Yankees.com/groups today.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. That's ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN.
ZipRecruiter. 880 ESPN, WHSQ, and WCBS-FM HD2, New York. A Good Karma Brands radio station.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-372-2017. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017.
I think the State of the Union just finished, Danny. I don't know if you were watching. Finished up, I think, about 5 minutes ago. I don't know. That's all.
It was a good deterrent from the Knicks game, I can tell you that.
That's for sure.
You know?
Certainly the Knicks game felt like it was longer.
Exactly.
It's Bart Carlin on ESPN New York. Dan Graca is in for Bart today. We'll get to a couple of more calls here in a second, but I want to keep rolling on the Knicks here for a few minutes. And listen, I look at what we got coming up on this upcoming schedule, and I'm very interested and excited to see Wembanyama on Sunday, but a lot of it just doesn't have me feeling good about where things are headed.
And remember, they lost to San Antonio on New Year's Eve.
Right.
A high-scoring affair. They lost by 2 points, so they came up short in there. Here, going back to that previous comment, from that one somebody who chimed in on the chat about. People are complaining about losing this game 15 over 500,
right.
Whatever it is. And I said, when you factor in what the expectations were for this team, like there are only going to be certain games over a long regular season to where you actually consider benchmark games for this team. So I'll run it by you, and I think we'll be under agreement. You got 23 games left, okay? So do you consider Milwaukee on Friday a benchmark game or not really?
No, I wouldn't call that a benchmark game.
Especially no Giannis. San Antonio, yes, right? On Sunday? Okay.
Absolutely.
Next week when Oklahoma City comes to town?
Sure.
Okay. Then you're going to go out west. At Denver, that's one. Right?
Definitely.
Okay. Do you consider the Lakers on the road still?
I think anytime when you're playing the Lakers,
fair,
you have to treat it seriously.
Not the Clippers, because they mailed it in at the trade deadline, so you can't say them. Now, mid-March, Golden State comes in. They're essentially a glorified 500 team. I don't consider that a benchmark.
Not benchmark. It's a game that you would look at and you would say, I want to beat that team at home just because they're Golden State.
And if Curry doesn't play, and remember, he's got a bad knee, so you don't even know if they're going to even be close to full strength.
No, it's not a benchmark game. It's a game that you would hope that you would win.
Right. At Oklahoma City later in March, that's one, of course.
Sure.
What about the at Houston when you return the favor and go there?
Well, but here's what you're asking me. Wouldn't you want for them to I guess I could say yes, just because Houston should be ticked off.
Right.
But I'll give you a yes on that.
Okay.
Sure.
And then the only other one I see is Boston at home because you're neck and neck with them in the standings. That's the third to the last game of the season. So if we're in agreement on all that, that's essentially 6 to 7 more games this year in the regular season that you're going to be locked in on to see how this team responds.
Well, yes, but my problem is, and I asked this question the other day, is there any part of me, part of you, that believes that you could build enough consistency over the final 20 games that you would have a good confidence level going into the playoffs? I don't believe they're capable of that level of consistency.
Well, if you start beating some of these teams, right, like the so-called upper echelon teams.
And so what does that look like? Of those 6 or 7 games, how many of them you have to win? 5?
I would say at least 5. But
again, you win 5 of those games, I'll feel good.
And by the way, most of them, you notice, are still...
And it also is going to have to look like who's playing and who's not in some of those games. But
right, and it's also, a lot of them are Western Conference teams. Like, it's a very heavily backloaded, how do we get to, next week, March 4th, how do we get to 60-something games in the season and the Knicks and the Thunder still haven't played each other yet?
That is bizarre.
Right?
That is bizarre.
So, yeah, I mean, all these games, like 2 against Oklahoma City, the San Antonio, the Lakers, the Nuggets, that's 5 in the West right there. So 5 out of the 7 games against Western Conference teams. And hopefully you're only going to have to worry about one Western Conference team in the grand scheme of things.
And that's I think that's what's bothersome more than anything is when you have the Pistons treating the Knicks like they have this year and you don't get even a chance to even wash any of that out of your mouth before you get them in the playoffs. I think that's a bad feeling. I think it's
by the way, we're not even bringing up the fact, God forbid, what if you all these other games we're kind of just glancing over and saying, oh yeah, they'll beat them. What if they stub their toe against one of these also rans?
What do you mean what if? They're going to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What happened, remember the Indiana game a couple of weeks ago? How ugly that was.
That team had 4 road wins all year. They were 4-22 going into that game, and they came into the Garden and won.
Dallas on Martin Luther King, that debacle.
Oh my God! Let's get back to the phones even more. See, I told you I'm having trouble with the words. The words don't come. I'm a guy that speaks for a living, and then the next thing you know, every time I'm trying to put a sentence together, I can't do it.
Blame the snow. It's an easy excuse.
Stamatis in Astoria. Stamatis, what's going on, dude? How are you?
Hey, what's happening, Chris? What's happening, Grosso?
You got the ugly, dirty, smelly snow Stamatis out in Astoria right now. I used to live in Astoria. We always had it there.
Yeah, every corner has it. You know, the crosswalks particularly like to be nice and deep. Ugh. So it slides right into your ankle.
I did one of those things the other day from Groundhog Day where I stepped right into the puddle. Oh God.
Well, I saw, it's funny. Yeah. I saw something on Sunday on the internet. It was right outside of Penn Station and Madison Square Garden on 7th Avenue. It was one of those slush puddles, but it must have been 10 feet wide. And I'm like, how is anybody getting around this thing?
Yeah, you got to make your way to the next corner for something like that. You're not going to walk through that one.
Yeah.
It was like into the middle of the street.
What do you got, brother?
Yeah. So just regarding the coaching situation, I was never a fan of Mike Brown when they made the hire. I thought it was a major reach when they did it, and I still stand by that. But it is who we have, and we got to deal with it. And it's unfortunate because it still baffles me how they never even entertained Mike Malone. Because I thought he was the perfect fit. The guy's he's a native New Yorker.
By the way, I forgot to mention this earlier too. The other guy that they were looking at was Taylor Jenkins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
But you're right. They never even talked about Mike Malone.
I mean, to me, he was the perfect fit. New Yorker, tough, defensive coach, similar build, but I guess they just wanted someone nice instead of someone mean.
When you fire coaches, what do you typically do? You look for the opposite of what you just fired.
Right, and the thing was, to be fair to Thibodeau, was a big fan of, he got us to the brink, and it was the next step, So, he delivered the next step each year he was there, and then he got fired, and it still bothers me, but, again, there's nothing we could do about that now. Which brings me to my next point. And I know it's never going to happen, but I was actually laughing to myself saying, can you imagine, Dolan realizes that he made a mistake and, they Billy Martin him, and they bring him back after they get rid of Brown since they're paying him anyway.
Yeah, I'm not thinking that's going to happen. If you're Dolan at that point, first of all, he's never going to admit that mistake. And secondly, if I'm sitting there and I'm Tom Thibodeau, I'm good. It's fine.
No. Well, it's funny. They on the hockey side of things, they brought back David Quinn, who was a head coach, and now he's an assistant coach with the Rangers.
That's true.
And by the way, the last, what are we talking? Last two Rangers coaches only got 2 years. And both of those guys won a President's Trophy in one of the seasons. Think about that. And then we're whacked after 2 years. And then that just kind of okay, go about your day, go about your business. So I'm not saying that, Mike Brown's going to be a one-and-done guy, but there's an enormous amount of expectations that were attached to this team going into the season. And if it don't work out, something's going to change.
Anthony in Bayside is next on ESPN New York. Tony, what up?
How you doing, my man? How you guys doing? I was talking, I think it was Bauer before. I thought the guy Derek made a lot of salient points. It was a good phone call. I just think we got to put some onus on Jalen Brunson because he's the real, number one leader on the team. And I also just feel like Josh Hart is also a big component of this bad streak. If you guys have been watching him closely, he hasn't been playing well. And we need him to be a leader. We need him to play well in order to give us that, energy that we usually have with him. I also feel like the coaching is an issue as well. I did have a little faith in Mike Brown because I felt like this could have been the year where he finally proves to people that he could take a team to the next level. So I just feel like we also need to back off of K-Towns a little because I feel like us calling him soft and the soft word keep being circulated around him is just, it's not going to make things better. And he isn't the type of guy.
So now we have to not call him, so to be clear, let's not keep calling him soft because we don't want to make him upset.
Well,
positive reinforcement. That's what it sounds like to me.
I just feel like it's being reinforced too much. And I feel like
all right,
it could be,
I get that.
It could be, taken into consideration that we need to put that on Jalen Brunson as well. Because there is a lot of
thing, though. Can I push back on one thing with Towns, with when people call him soft? I don't know if he's. I never bought into the fact that he's soft. I just think people see someone who's 7 feet tall. He's a pretty good sized dude, and for years and years and years and years, when we watch the NBA, whenever we see somebody who's 7 feet, whatever he comes in on the scale, you expect him to dominate down in the paint. That was never his strong suit. Even going back to the Kentucky days, like what made Cat a freak and what made him a number one overall pick in the draft is because for a guy his size, being a 7-footer, he has a perimeter game which not many, if any, of his size has been able to bring with him to the NBA. So You ask a guy that is, has the size, but now he should just play like all bigs that came before him should play. And because he doesn't, people call him soft. And that's why I don't think that those two things kind of jive.
I don't think Cat is soft from this perspective. It's just in the way he carries himself on the court when he's complaining all the time about every trip down.
Let me ask you a question. Is there anything different? And I hear what you're saying. How do you look at somebody like Anthony Davis? Do you say Anthony Davis is soft? We know he's injury prone. But, I mean, is he soft? Because he's another guy who's a 7-footer, who's got an outside game as well. But maybe he features himself a little bit more in the low post than a Cat does. But, I mean.
I don't think of them in the same sentence. Let's put it that way. I don't think Anthony Davis is some big tough guy. But I don't think soft.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to then, I mean, there's a lot of different words and ways you can perceive the word soft to be. I'll tell you this, and it's undisputable. Karl Anthony Towns has been freaking Lou Gehrig / Cal Ripken / Mikal Bridges, if you want to talk about an Iron Man and available compared to Anthony Davis.
The problem is we all expect him to be Patrick Ewing and to demand the ball and to dominate physically down low and to do those type of things. And this is not what his mentality is. And when you see someone complain as much as he does, and it's so evident that the officials so much tune him out, those are the traits that make you think a player is soft. Like I'm getting hit every time. We know you are, dude. You're a big dude. It's going to happen it's unfortunately a curse of being you. If you didn't do that kind of thing, it would help that image. It would help that image. I don't expect that to change.
No, and look, and he's not somebody who's obviously very graceful. You don't expect a lot of 7-footers to be so. And, when he drives the lane, like you said, I think it doesn't give off like a good image. Like the flailing thing kind of drives you crazy.
Yeah, and he's
that
a target
stuff.
for offensive fouls.
Exactly. He's kind of like a bull in a china shop. Let's be real. For lack of a better term, when he drives the lane, it's like you sit there and you hold your breath. You're like, oh, this is not going to go well.
Dave, Brooklyn, up next on ESPN New York. Dave, what's going on, dude? How are you?
Hey, good fellas. Thanks for taking my call. I am not at all worried about the Knicks. I mean, everyone is so reactionary on one game. They are gyrating through an overly long NBA season on a Monday night or Tuesday night in Cleveland where they don't look good. It's relatively meaningless in the grand scheme of things. And one area where I want to point to is last season when everyone complained that the starting five was playing more minutes than they should under Thibodeau. What happened? Well, they won a lot of games. And this year, now that the minutes are significantly down, they're losing more games. So you can't have it both ways, right? Something's got to give, and it's giving.
So, Dave, do you believe that because of that they're going to be better off in the playoffs where they already made it to the conference finals playing as hard as they did last year?
Absolutely. I think we're much better off because the difference between the Pistons and the Knicks right now is that the Knicks have four guys, Bridges, OG, obviously Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, who can fill it up any night. One of those guys or two of those guys, three of those guys can go for 30. The Pistons don't have that. And in situational basketball in the playoffs, when you need a bucket, my money's on the Knicks because Cunningham's going to break down at some point. He can't do that night after night after night.
That dude is physically a lot bigger than Jalen Brunson.
Let me tell you something, and I know this is like the worst nightmare for Knicks fans right now. And Chris, you know what? We're getting closer and closer to. I mean, we've already had the discussion, but we might be coming closer and closer to it almost being in, undisputable reality, at least for this year. Pistons might have the best player on the court next time these two teams square off in a big game.
I think they already do. I think they do. With that performance last week with 42, what did he finish, 42-8 or 42-13-8 or something like that?
One guy's going to finish in the top three in the MVP vote, and he plays in the Midwest.
I mean,
and I love Brunson.
Yeah.
Love him. He's the best free agent signing that this franchise has ever had. He's in the discussion for the best free agent signing in the history of New York sports. Like, we've been there. And the Knicks would not be where they are right now without him. But It's very, very pie in the sky just to sit here and say, oh, this happened last year, it's going to right itself again. 1 year to the next is completely different in sports. Haven't we learned that already?
And I think that we're also probably shortchanging what else the Pistons can do when the Knicks haven't seen Jalen Duren once this year. Not once. And he was an all-star. So
things change from things change from season to season in sports. I mean, Jesus, look at the Kansas City Chiefs, for crying out loud. They were a dynasty. How'd they fare this past year?
They look like they're broken down right now and not sure whether to cling to the past or move to the future.
No, they're going to reload. They're going to scary reload, and I guarantee you they'll be back in the playoffs next year. But that's another story for another time.
Well, what's going to happen is Travis Kelce's going to play for nothing. They're going to be an afterthought. They'll get another dynamic wide receiver, and they'll take Jeremiah Love in the first round. It'd be ridiculous.
Well, look what they just did. Look what they just did with Mahomes' contract. They freed up, what was it, $40 million in salary cap space for next year? So
you knew that was
coming. They're going all in.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, back to the whole thing about last year what the Knicks did versus what you want to see this time around. Last year, their record against teams 500 and above were 15-23, which is actually worse than it is this year.
Wow.
They were 36-8 against the also-rans.
And who was it last year? They didn't beat Oklahoma City, they didn't beat Boston, and they didn't beat who else during this regular season?
Cleveland.
Yeah.
And they were 1-13 last year against Cleveland, Boston, Oklahoma City, and Detroit. Wow. The one win came against Detroit.
Now, granted, they ended up beating two of those teams in the postseason. I think it's a little taking it for granted if you just assume that that's going to happen again.
Here's the thing. I mean, it's easy to point to what the biggest common denominator or lack thereof is from last season to this year. You got to go to the coach.
Gilberto in the truck up next. Gilberto!
Bart Carlin, welcome back, my bro. I hope you got over that little sniffle you had. Grasa. What's up, big dog?
Gilberto!
Yo, guys, man. Grasa, I don't mean to disagree with you because you're one of my favorite announcers, especially for a football game. You bring a lot of excitement. But, dude, this guy, Cat, man, $60 million, man. There's two beefs that I got with the Knicks, man. 5 number 1 draft picks for a guy that's not worth it, Mikal Bridges, who disappears when he's got to, play down low and play somebody like Joe, somebody that's stacked like a Johnny Pump. You know what I'm saying? And he disappears. Everything is that jump shot. And as far as Cat, I'm sorry, Grasa, he is soft. If you, Grasa, I'm going to impose this question on you. Because Carlin, I know what Carlin's going to say. If you were Cat and you were 7+, 7'1", 7'2", whatever he is, okay, and you weighed 270 pounds, and you were in the block, down in the paint, not more than 2 or 3 feet away from the block, and you see all these small guys around you, let me know your thoughts on what you would do. Thanks, guys.
But, I'll answer that with this. I mean, Chris, how many times you watch an NBA game? Okay? And this is just the culture that we live in now with the NBA and because of the damn analytics. How many times do you see a guy drive the lane? He can easily go up for a layup.
Yeah.
But instead of even putting the ball up, he kicks it out to the corner or the wing because you have a guy there for a wide open 3.
Harden did it a couple times last night.
I mean, that's the culture of the NBA right now because they think volume shooting threes that how about this? Most teams will drill into their players that a contested 3 is better than a wide open 2.
Well, think about this. Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely true. And if anybody really wants to be honest about what happened, why did the Knicks lose to the Celtics? Not injuries. They lost to the Celtics because the Celtics all of a sudden couldn't throw it in the ocean from 3.
Oh, because the Celtics were stubborn.
Yeah.
You talked about, we in the first hour of the show, we talked about coaching and how you have to, as you're a coach, you have to tailor your game plans and go about your strategy differently based upon that game. Celtics lived and died by the 3 all year. And even though it wasn't working for them in those first couple of games, and even though they had, a 20-point lead in those first couple of games, they still were bombs away. They deserve to lose those games. They beat themselves.
It's Bart Carlin, ESPN New York, and on the ESPN New York YouTube page. You can go there. You can subscribe and, of course, comment. We'll get some of the comments in the chat, including Cool K. Tibbs beat Joe Mazzulla, however you want to spell that. He spelled it, well, not right. I don't think Brown is out coaching anybody. I think
Did you say mozzarella?
He spelled it Mazzolla.
Mazzola.
Yeah. Isn't that a corn oil? Isn't that
Mazzola corn oil? Yes.
Isn't it a corn oil?
There's a throwback. Are they still doing well? Are they still in your local grocery?
Since we just called it a throwback and the fact that we barely referenced it, I don't know. How about Wessonality, Dan? You got any Wessonality?
Wesson? Wasn't that a Florence Henderson vehicle?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
How much do you think Flo got back in the day for that gig?
Oh, she did pretty well.
I would think so, too.
If you were doing commercials in like the 80s and 90s for a home cooking product, I think you were living in the lap of luxury.
Get ready for Rickleball Madness. That's Friday, March 20th. ESPN New York is taking over Pickleball Heaven in Medford, New York. Catch a live broadcast of DiPietro and Rothenberg starting at 6 a.m. and then stick around for our social ladder pickleball tournament. We're going to crown our champions, then roll right into a college hoops watch party to cap off the day. That's awesome. You go right into the NCAA tournament after that with those guys, and they'll be great with the fans. Sign up now on the ESPN New York app. Spots are limited. Rickleball Madness brought to you by Pickleball Heaven, the new standard of indoor pickleball. You pickleball guy?
No, but I have a more important question for you.
Yeah.
During those days, do you think Florence Henderson was raking in more money from the Wesson commercials or Brady Bunch reruns?
Man,
that was in syndication, but I don't know what kind of a piece of the pie she got.
I don't know what those contracts looked like back in the day, because you always hear those horror stories about how, like, the Three Stooges ended up broke like a year after they stopped making it, and they were making, companies were making millions after the Stooges, Right. So I don't know what those contracts look like.
The three other Seinfeld cast members, not named Jerry, they don't get anything in reruns, I don't think.
They don't get anything?
They get very little.
Really?
Very little.
Well, the Friends people clean up. Because they all negotiated their contracts together, if you remember that.
Yes.
They actually were going to hold out as a group. And then I think it was George, Elaine, and Kramer that were kind of working together.
Well, I think like when they were still shooting the show, like those last couple of seasons, they wanted a significant bump up.
Yeah.
But as far as like the for reruns and syndication, I think that was Jerry and Larry David who cleaned up.
Yeah, I think you're probably right because they own the show.
Yeah, it's their show.
Yeah.
It's like with Raymond, the Raymond and the creator Rosenthal. They were the ones that got all the syndication money.
Would you rather be famous and rich, or just rich and not famous?
Wow. So you have that obscurity. You can go about your day to day.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good. Because
Phil Rosenthal can walk around, can't he? Unless he's putting himself out there, he can walk around and nobody's going to bother Phil Rosenthal.
Did you ever see Phil Rosenthal? I don't know. I think it might be still going. We talked about this before the show. He's got a Netflix show where he goes around the world just eating things.
Yes, I knew he had the show, but
he's a big foodie.
But if Phil Rosenthal walked in here right now, would I know who it was?
I think we kind of know because we're up to that, but most people might not. Like if somebody, if Phil Rosenthal walked in and they said this is so-and-so from one of the GKB markets in, Dubuque, Iowa or something like that. You'd be like, oh, okay, this is the sales manager from, oh, great, nice to meet you.
Phil, how are you? Yeah.
Not knowing that he's a almost billionaire because of
if you just like you and I know it, but if you just introduced him as Phil Rosenthal, sales manager from Dubuque, you'd probably buy that.
You'd buy it 100%. So to answer your question, I do think the obscurity and rich and non-famous is the way to go because think about it. You don't have to worry about being a target. You could go about your life. Nobody's trying to, get at you. Nobody knows you're rich. Nobody, your family members, God forbid, as we see what's happening in the news here around the world, unfortunately. You know, like you kind of just, you know, you go about your life.
I'd rather be rich and nobody knows who I am.
Yeah, that's the way to go, man.
Which I'm neither right now. So there we go. Bart Carlin, ESPN New York.
It's a battle of Big East Titans when 15th-ranked St. John's visits 5th-ranked UConn. Coverage begins today at 6:40 on 880 ESPN and the ESPN New York app.
Hosting, grilling, just want a great dinner? You gotta start at Wild Fork Foods. Brazilian beef tenderloin, only $10 a pound. Atlantic salmon portions, just $9.98 a pound. Premium quality without the premium price. Every product is blast frozen to lock in flavor and nutrients. With over 450 options, there's something for every occasion. Shop 7 locations, or you can order online for same-day delivery. WildForkFoods.com. Wild Fork Foods, quality meat, wild prices.
Make cancer screening a part of your annual healthcare routine. New York Presbyterian offers a full range of cancer screenings, including lung, cervical, prostate, colorectal, breast, and more. Regular cancer screenings could save your life by detecting cancer at its earliest, most treatable stages. Screenings are available across New York City and Westchester. Learn more at nyp.org/cancer screening. Stay amazing. New York Presbyterian.
DraftKings Sportsbook puts you right in the middle of basketball's biggest star-driven moments. Bet player props, bet live, and when a game turns fast, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player gets injured anytime in the first half, your bet stays alive. And once it settles, you still get paid in cash. That's built-in protection for star-driven bets. Backed by DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code WHSQ. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly with code WHSQ. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. 21 plus, New York only. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio limited time offer.
Everyone needs to take care of their mental health, even running back Bijan Robinson.
When I'm on the field and feeling the pressure, I usually just take a deep breath. When I'm just breathing and seeing what's in front of me, everything just slows down. It just makes me feel great before I run the play.
Just like Bijan, we all need a strong mental game on and off the field. Make a game plan for your mental health at loveyourmindplaybook.org.
Love your mind.
Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and the Ad Council.
It starts with the first early morning, the uniform, the training, the challenge. Every trooper remembers day one at the academy. But where they end up, no two stories are the same. At the New York State Police, the path you take is up to you. If you're ready for a career with endless opportunities for growth, start here. Go anywhere. Apply today at joinstatepolice.ny.gov.
Have you ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. NBA Futures let you lock in your pick for who you think will go all the way, whether it's a team to win the championship or a conference title. Have you ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. Visit FanDuel.com/local to get started. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus and physically present in New York. No purchase necessary. Limit 1 entry for Profit Boost token. Opt-in required. Must apply Profit Boost token on select market. Restrictions apply. See full terms including methods of entry at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Every great team has its core players, but when the season gets tough, adding the right free agent can make all the difference. The same goes for business. At Robert Half, we found that 67% of companies surveyed plan to increase their use of contract talent to handle workload peaks and backlogged projects. With Robert Half's specialized recruiters' experience, combined with their award-winning AI, you can quickly find the skilled candidates you want. At Robert Half, we know talent. Discover how we can help at roberthalf.com/talent.
Switching to Progressive is a game-winning call. And that reminds us of other game-winning calls in the history of sports.
So it was the fourth quarter and we're down by 5. Sweat pouring down my face. Suddenly it hit me. If only I could wrap part of the towel around my forehead. And that's how I became the first basketball player to wear a headband.
Okay, not really a game-winning call, but it was a good call. You can make one too. Switch to Progressive and you could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Well, Dan, I don't believe in segues. I believe in sharp left turns, ones that you can't trace one to another. And we've spent an hour and a half talking about the Knicks, so why not talk about the lesser interesting team in football right now, and that's the Giants. As we welcome in Jordan Raanan from ESPN New York, who is out at the Combine. Hi, Jordan.
Way to hype everyone up there.
Yeah, it's called selling the guest. And you came out of the chute. You came out firing like a cannon right away. How are you, buddy boy?
Good. How you guys doing?
Have you ever been more excited to be in Indianapolis in late February compared to what the alternative is back home?
What was your travel situation?
So I was in Cancun last week, right? So flying home.
Good thing you weren't in Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, you're not joking. I've been there before too, by the way. It's, the time change. That was one of the options, so thank God. But anyway, so I'm flying home on Saturday, and I'm starting to look, and because I'm not a big weather guy. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. And on Saturday, I'm looking at it like, wow, this looks like everyone's saying it's gonna snow legit. So Sunday morning, took my landed Saturday night. Sunday morning, took my daughter to indoor soccer. Lacrosse game, went straight to the airport, got on a flight, got to Chicago. From Chicago, got to Indy before, I was on a 2:00 flight on Sunday, so just beat that storm.
So this was 2 minutes of a completely uninteresting travel story. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's all I got for you.
You wanted delays. You wanted sleeping at the airport. You wanted maybe, shacking up next to a homeless person. You didn't get any of that.
Nothing. Jordan, smooth sailing. No problem. That connection in Chicago, as smooth as could be. Easy enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I took 2 flights in 10 hours to get to Indianapolis, which is a 2-hour flight, but that's not enough for you, Carlin.
No, it's not.
You want more pain than that. You want more pain, more harm, more damage.
Well, Jordan, I might as well have that timeshare at O'Hare because I spend a lot of time there too. But nobody cares about that at this point.
No,
not my travel part of it, at least. Jordan, talk to me about Joe Schoen. First of all, I'm assuming the way it looked, just in terms of reading it. Did it happen? Did the question from you happen off the podium of your role and are you still in charge kind of thing? How did that go down?
Yeah, I think it was just sort of more like, oh, hey, where does Dawn Aponte kind of fit in here?
Yeah.
Like what's her role and what do you think about other people in the organization reporting to her? And then it was a little bit on like the defensive side, the answer for sure.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm still the GM. My role hasn't changed. Well, of course your role has changed. What are we pretending here? Like, there's people who are used to be reporting to you that departments that no longer report to you. So clearly it has changed, talking to people who are speaking to the Giants, agents and stuff, or talking free agents with the Giants, they have serious reservations about, the power structure over there and who's really calling the shots. And everybody knows it's John Harbaugh, and, Dawn's like his right-hand woman right now.
Right. And Harbaugh even, I remember at his introductory press conference, he was asked about that, and he said, well, that's just a piece of paper, not trying to make anything more of it than it is. And I think even yesterday, Harbaugh said, well, this is the way we're going to do it, blah, 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 not wanting to fan the flames. And I give him credit for that, from Shane's standpoint. But, like you said, everybody knows this is John Harbaugh's show, and that's what took forever to iron out the details of that contract before it was all said and done.
Of course. Like, that's the deal. It didn't take several days to iron out because it didn't mean anything. Come on. Nobody's believing that. But like,
it's just a piece of paper that I wasn't taking the job without.
Yes.
Exactly. Oh, no big deal. But here's the deal, right? Okay, so this is all behind the scenes stuff. And in the end, nobody really cares. They only care about the product on the field. And the thing that I have come away thinking, like I woke up this morning, I had some conversations pretty late last night, and I'm like trying to process what they mean. And I wake up this morning, I mean, you know what I'm thinking? They're going to shake up this roster in a serious way. Like there's going to be some major changes to the roster and what this team looks like and the identity of this team. Like I think it's going to be a much more physical, run-heavy team. And in order to do that, there's going to be some significant personnel changes and signings. And the Giants that we've seen the last few years, the form that they're in, personnel-wise, is going to change dramatically this offseason.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Jordan Raanan covering the Giants. He is out in Indianapolis for the Combine. Does that make me immediately start to think of things like the number 5 pick? Mel had Spencer Fano, the tackle from Utah, going to the Giants at number 5. When it's Harbaugh, it's got to be an offensive lineman early. You want to step up and be that physical. Is that a direction that you would expect them to start to look at when they're trying to solidify a position that has been a major problem the last couple of years?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I think with that number 5 pick, you're looking at a pick that they have flexibility this year. They could go in a lot of different ways, right? How about you have offensive tackle for sure. This is going to be a running team. I'm not even going to completely eliminate the idea of them drafting a running back high in this draft. Maybe not at 5. Maybe they decide to move back. Who knows, right?
It'd be something if they took Jeremiah Love at 5. Wow.
Or how about, well, let's just say they move back at another pick and have like the 12th pick. What do you think about it then? I just picked a random number.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense, yeah.
So, I mean,
understand it.
Yeah. And like, look, how about middle linebacker? Go look at what John Harbaugh made a comment yesterday. It really caught my attention. He was like, well, if you're, he's talking about the run defense because it's been a disaster. If your linebacker's not going to be making the tackles, you're not going to be able to stop the run. And I'm thinking, you know what? Think about the Baltimore Ravens when John Harbaugh was there. Ray Lewis, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, B.J. Mosley. They had big time middle linebackers. I almost wouldn't be surprised if the Giants in free agency or the draft, high in the draft, address that position.
All right, you got me thinking because, to your point, like you said, you think there could be a shakeup here. And again, if you're a fan, you can't necessarily take exception to any of that because the Giants have not been good. Just like the way this organization has now been structured from a front office standpoint, Giants haven't been good in forever. So changes are necessary. Mm-hmm. How about a guy like Dexter Lawrence coming off of a down year, okay? And I understand there's still a lot on the contract, but there's some teams that would be willing to take him off your hands thinking that, of course, he's going to return to form. You could get something for him. Could you see that as a potential guy they look to move on from to shake it up?
I came away from yesterday thinking that's a guy that they want to keep and build around. I did not necessarily feel they were that sold on making sure that Kayvon Thibodeau is one of those guys. Like they said, yeah, we expect him to be back, but we'll also listen to offers. As a GM, I got to listen to offers. Like, yeah. So that makes me think, yeah, for the right price, Kayvon Thibodeau could be had. And remember, he's a $15 million third edge rusher at the moment because you have Abdul Carter and you have Brian Burns. So, yeah, that would make sense. That would create money where you could then reinvest it in another position, right? So I came away yesterday thinking it was more likely that he would be a guy that they would move in a trade than Dexter Lawrence.
Jordan Raanan with us. So what else did you take out of that as you started to kind of formulate that this is going to be a team that's going to look a lot different that maybe people don't anticipate? Where else do you think it looks different?
The back end, the secondary, I think is going to look very different. They're going to be a more physical, like I said, team, bigger guys. Like it makes me think like Cordell Flott's a free agent and he was a good cover corner, but guess what? Cordell Flott weighs 170 pounds. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know how much that makes sense. Wan'Dale Robinson, adding receivers and weapons. Does Wan'Dale Robinson fit what they're going to do? Their offense, like how much if they run a lot of heavy sets and there's fullback involved, which has been the case almost always in Baltimore, and a heavy use of tight ends. Like, do you want to invest that much in a slot receiver? Like Wan'Dale Robinson, I'm almost like I'd be surprised at this point now. Like listening to them, it's like that. That's his landing spot is coming back there. So, adding weapons in regards to receiver, figuring out how they're going to address that receiver position. Is Darius Slayton a guy that they look to? Hey, I know we signed him last year, but does he fit what they're doing? Maybe find a way to move on from him, even if it involves eating some of the money. These are some of the things going through my head. Not that I heard anything on that, but we'll find out more as the week goes along here, exactly probably where they're heading in free agency. But those are some of the things that I was thinking of how this team can change and have a different look moving forward.
Well, that's why Caleb Downs becomes certainly an intriguing possibility at number 5 when you're talking about a guy who some people consider to be maybe the best player in this draft, but he's a safety, and you can't take a safety that high. But 5 is a little bit more digestible as opposed to, let's say, like number 2 for the Jets. Here's another one, though. One of the hot names when you go back and you link Harbaugh to maybe the type of guys he'd like to bring in, Tyler Linderbaum, free agent center, of course, from the Ravens. But then yesterday, Eric DeCosta, the Ravens GM, goes up to the podium and he says they've made Linderbaum what he called a market-setting offer. So should we cool it a little bit on maybe the prospect of Linderbaum becoming the Giants center this year?
Yeah, I think that's just a tough one because you're talking about you have a young player who's played as probably like an average center this year, and I'm talking about John Michael Schmidt. And then are you really willing to give that up in order to then pay a super premium for a guy who's, going to make a lot of money?
Yeah.
It makes it a tough move. Like I wouldn't say it's impossible because, like I said, I think they're going to shake up a lot of things. And if that's like the core piece, the one guy that you really want to do, like they'll just go do it and then move on from there. But I do think it's far from a slam dunk. Isaiah Likely, another one. The connection with John Harbaugh, add to that tight end position. I'm not sure how that's a fit with Theo Johnson, but it's definitely a name that's popped up here in the last 24 hours when I talk to some people. So yeah, these are all things that we're going to keep an eye on. And look, the week here kind of has just started. Like yesterday was kind of like really Tuesday's like the first real day here in regards to the information flow with the GMs and the head coaches talking, and probably from like today until Friday. It really starts picking up in regards to the free agency front. And by like Friday, I think we'll know a lot more about the direction that they're going to head here with the Giants and John Harbaugh.
And real quick, just to shed light on that, though, the center position, to your point, with the primo dollars, Creed Humphrey of the Chiefs, their center, he makes $18 million a year, and he's the highest paid center. So if you have DeCosta say that they're going to pay Linderbaum and what he would covet, like you said, you're probably looking in that $18 to $20 million a year range, which is very, very hefty for a center.
I think you should go with 20 plus there, Dan.
No, there you go.
Wow, Jordan.
So is that something you want to do? And then you probably have to play Marcus Bowe at right tackle at that point. Then, and that's a big cross your fingers and pray that that's the right move.
Unless you take the rookie at 5, you know what I mean, and then you have him on an affordable contract because he's a rookie. The tackle, I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. One way to do it.
Good talk, Jordan. Always good to hear from you.
I'm sorry you were disappointed. You wanted me to.
I wasn't disappointed. I wanted you to be.
Maybe I'll get stuck here, like on the way home.
Couldn't you just be slightly inconvenienced? It wouldn't kill you. That's all. Everybody else is having all kinds of problems. We got people who are still stuck all over the country, can't get back here, and oh yeah, no problem. In and out. Nobody gets hurt.
You want to know?
That's the way Jordan Raanan's life works.
You want to know? My biggest concern was and I was sitting here like looking at my Ring doorbell like every second. If I didn't get someone to plow the driveway at my house, my wife was going to kill me.
Yeah.
I was praying yesterday that kid down the street came over with the snowblower and took care of my driveway.
Yeah, that's a tough position to be in. You're out of town, and then you get something like that happen. And
did
good luck
Spanky
with all
come
that,
through,
honey.
or what?
Everyone's all right. I mean, I told my wife, like, whatever that kid charges you, you say fine. Like, if he was a good businessman, I think I would have said like $800. I probably would have been like, sure.
No
Supply
problem.
and demand. Supply and demand.
I mean, he definitely had all the leverage.
Jordan, good stuff, man. Travel safe.
All right, thanks, fellas.
See you, buddy.
Jordan Raanan, he is out in Indianapolis at the NFL Combine covering the Giants. It's Bart Carlin on ESPN New York. We've got a lot to get to with Danny in regard to the Jets, but we want to remind you to subscribe to ESPN New York on YouTube. Stream the full Weekday Lineup. Complete replays you can watch or catch up fast with our can't-miss highlights. Jump into the live chat. We've done that a lot today. React in real time. Make your voice part of the show. Subscribe to ESPN New York on YouTube now and stay locked in so you never miss a moment.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-372-2017. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017.
Prizes, flyaways, even cash money. You want it? We've got it. Find a list of all contests and official rules by visiting ESPNNewYorkContests.com.
That's ESPNNewYorkContests.com.
This is Rick Brunson, the assistant coach from the New York Knicks. I'll be driving to our games this season in style in my new Jeep Gladiator from Princeton Jeep. My friends at Princeton Jeep gave me all-star treatment, and you can expect the same thing. Just mention I sent you, and they'll treat you like family. Princeton Jeep has tons of inventory and great deals on new vehicles. Visit Princeton Jeep at 1045 State Road in Princeton, New Jersey, or online at PrincetonJeeps.com and tell them Rick Brunson sent you.
Hey Yankees fans, 2026 Yankees individual game and group tickets are on sale now at Yankees.com/tickets. Next season's home schedule is highlighted by interleague games against the Dodgers, Braves, and Cardinals. As always, we'll host the annual series of games against the Mets, as well as baseball's best rivalry with the Red Sox. Don't miss out on all the exciting action in the Bronx. Get your 2026 Yankees tickets today at Yankees.com/tickets.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN right now to try it for free, and you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
This is the Michael K. Show.
The problem is, with Judge saying I was getting frustrated, everybody else is doing things, but you wanted Bellinger back. And as long as you wanted Bellinger back, they're landlocked to do anything else. They're not going to have a $400 million payroll. And again, I can hear the voices.
Yeah, but look at the Dodgers.
That's why there's going to be a work stoppage. The Yankees have the highest payroll in the American League, and they should be able to get out of the American League with this team.
The Michael K. Show. Weekdays at 1 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-568-2790. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-568-2790. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-568-2790. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-568-2790 or biglou.com.
Don Hahn and Rosenberg is live from the Big East Tournament presented by Schweppes, Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, and Samuel Adams. Join DHR broadcasting live from the Irish Exit inside Moynihan Train Hall for a Big East extravaganza. Big East legends Charles Smith and Walter Berry will join us on site as we break down the action and relive the glory days. All courtesy of Schweppes. Stop by beginning at 3 p.m. Enter to win great prizes and make the Irish Exit your headquarters when the Big East takes center stage. Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea is available at Avenida and the Rutherford. Must be 21 or older to purchase. Please drink responsibly.
Bart Carlin, ESPN New York, and on the ESPN New York YouTube page. Dan Grassa in for Bart today. Listen, it would be crazy to think that the Giants, like just the mere thought that Jordan put out there, that you trade back from 5 to like 9 or 10, and then for as much as we've all been loving Cam Skattebo, that they just took Jeremiah Love out of nowhere and that love affair's over. Oof.
No pun intended.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that would be – Jeremiah Love's a tremendous player. I think he's a great player. But that would be crazy if they did that.
Well, I mean, I think he's just tossing around possibilities because there's a lot of different ways to interpret what he was saying. But I do think that once August, September rolls around and you get a glimpse of what this Giants roster is going to look like, yeah, I could totally buy in. Like, John Harbaugh is not coming in looking at the lay of the land and saying, you know what? Oh, I think I could win with these guys. When nobody has been able to win with these guys for how many years? It's time to change things up, and he realizes it. And I think that he's probably in this for the long haul to where he realizes if I got to, make some tweaks and maybe we take, I don't want to say a step back, but if we don't necessarily make the playoffs in year one, it's not the end of the world. We're building this thing hopefully to where it's going to be a sustainable winner. And I don't know if you could do that in just one offseason.
The thing I'm going to be sticking to here is kind of the Harbaugh mentality period of John and or Jim. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at what they have done with the Chargers. Slater was there before Jim got there, but they went right to Joe Alt right away in his first draft. Mm-hmm. I would be leaning much more in the direction of an offensive tackle if they felt like a tackle at 5 for the right tackle spot was the guy for the long term. If they felt like they were getting good value at 5 for that, I would be surprised if they didn't lean that way first.
Well, think about it. Illuminor is a free agent, okay? You can let him walk. And you're going to have your pick of the litter at 5, whether it's kid Spencer Fano from Utah, whether it's going to be Mawanoa from Miami. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 right tackles, plug and play, that at least one of them will be on the board for you at 5. Okay, so now you have your bookends with Andrew Thomas. And say what you want. Look, I know like virtually nothing went right for the Jets last year, but it looks like they got that pick right at 7 with Armand Membu.
Yes.
And I know it's a right tackle and it's boring and it's a right tackle, but, you feel good about that pick because guess what? The first tackle that came off the board in the draft went 4th to New England. And how did Will Campbell work out, especially on Super Sunday?
That was rough.
No, not good, Bob.
Yeah. That was rough to watch. And there were offensive linemen lining up, not even necessarily defending him, but really wondering, like, what's going on with this guy if he's getting beaten like a drum like he was.
Well, look, and he got hurt this year. He had a knee issue, and he missed some time, and he was not the same player post-injury that he was before. But remember, there were questions about him, like just like his sleight of frame. And then you say, the arms thing again. And, is he better suited to be a guard than a tackle? Now, the Patriots doubled down after the Super Bowl, and Vrabel said, no, he's a tackle. He's going to get better. So they're a little bullish on that. But nevertheless, like if you feel good about Andrew Thomas on the left side if you're the Giants. If you bring in a bookend at the right tackle position and you draft the guy 5th overall, that's saving you money in terms of what you're probably getting that guy cheaper than what you would have to pay, let's say, just to retain Jermaine Illuminor.
Meanwhile, there is a premium player who wants to be a Jet. We'll explain next. Bart Carlin, Dan Gross in for Bart on ESPN New York and the ESPN New York YouTube channel.
Think premium meat has to come with a premium price? Not at Wild Fork Foods. You can get Brazilian beef tenderloin for only $10 a pound. Yes, $10 a pound. And Atlantic salmon portions for just $9.98 a pound. That's steakhouse and seafood house quality at home. Everything is blast frozen to lock in flavor and nutrients. You can shop one of their 7 locations or order online for same-day delivery. WildForkFoods.com. Wild Fork Foods. Quality meat. Wild prices.
At City Harvest, we believe no New Yorker has to go hungry. With your help, we're on the road 365 days a year, rescuing over 77 million pounds of nutritious food and delivering it free to millions of New Yorkers, transforming surplus food into sustenance, sustainability, and smiles, rallying thousands of New Yorkers to power a network of nourishment across our city. One day, one meal, and one New Yorker at a time. That's how we feed good. Donate at cityharvest.org.
DraftKings Sportsbook puts you right in the middle of basketball's biggest star-driven moments. Bet player props, bet live, and when a game turns fast, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player gets injured anytime in the first half, your bet stays alive. And once it settles, you still get paid in cash. That's built-in protection for star-driven bets. Backed by DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code WHSQ. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly with code WHSQ. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. 21 plus, New York only. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
It starts with the first early morning, the uniform, the training, the challenge. Every trooper remembers day one at the academy. But where they end up, no 2 stories are the same. At the New York State Police, the path you take is up to you. If you're ready for a career with endless opportunities for growth, start here. Go anywhere. Apply today at joinstatepolice.ny.gov.
Mornings with DiPietro and Rothenberg.
So Mets get to and falter in the divisional round.
Yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Anything outside of missing the playoffs is a step in the right direction. What for you makes a successful season?
Well, it starts with the playoffs. I mean, would I like to win the division? Yeah, I'd absolutely like to win the division. I think it's going to have to be, at the very least, you're winning a playoff series.
DiPietro and Rothenberg, morning 6 to 10 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
More people trust their hearts to New York Presbyterian than any other hospital in New York. It's because New York Presbyterian has the most experienced cardiovascular doctors, treating a full range of heart conditions, from heart failure to valve repair, with the most advanced treatments. Find a doctor at nyp.org/heart. New York Presbyterian. New York Presbyterian Hospital, based on U.S. News & World Report 2025 to 2026 cardiology, heart, and vascular surgery rankings.
Hey, this is Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson for 3. And this is your home for New York Knicks basketball. This is 880 ESPN.
WHSQ and WCBS-FM HD2, New York.
The following is a paid advertisement for the Wellness Company.
Today we're talking cancer awareness, and I want to bring in someone with a really unique perspective, Dr. Kelly Victory. She's a board-certified emergency medicine physician with over 30 years of experience who serves on the chief medical board for the Wellness Company. And most importantly, she's a cancer survivor. Dr. Victory, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks very much for having me, Michelle.
We've been hearing a lot lately about cancer rates rising, especially in younger adults, which is obviously pretty alarming. What are you seeing?
Without question, cancer rates are rising across the board. And concerningly, we are seeing more aggressive cancers in people even in their 20s and 30s.
That's scary for a lot of people. Is there anything that can be done to help alleviate that fear?
And that is what led me to develop the new product Shield, because it is a group of more than 12 well-studied, scientifically proven supplements that help to supercharge your immune system, the first line of defense against cancer.
To learn more, visit victoryagainstcancer.com and use promo code SMALLS to save $25 on Shield.
Always consult your doctor to determine if this product is right for you.
Yes, it is. That's where you can catch the show, and you should be subscribed to the ESPN New York YouTube channel and be a part of the discussion that goes on each and every day during the show. We will incorporate you into it. Bart Carlin, ESPN New York, and on the ESPN New York YouTube page and ESPN New York app. I am Chris Carlin. He is Dan Grassa, who is in for Bart today, and we're not even going to try to do the Power Hour.
Oh, why not?
Do you want to do it?
I can if you need me to. Somebody's got to do it.
All right. Well, have at it. Tom Bauer, fresh off his, buried in 38 inches down at the Jersey Shore. Does the shore even exist anymore?
Barely. It's just more like an icicle. It's more like a, what's that word? An iceberg at this point.
Well, we're glad to see you here. We're glad that you got here. It's a heroic performance on your part.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm not being facetious when I say that. I honestly think, considering where you were earlier in this week, I did not think we were going to see you for the entirety of the week.
I wouldn't have been surprised if I didn't see you until the end of March, based on how everything was being reported.
So please, Tom, the floor is yours.
It's the Power Hour! Hour! I've only got 3 today. I'm tired.
You know what? I don't even know if I was expecting 3 from Tom, so I'll give him credit for that.
I'm a little thrown off. Ray and I kind of looked at each other like, and I'm not knocking the effort. It just took me a minute to even recognize who that was because it sounded so different. Like, it didn't sound like Tom. Did that sound like Tom?
That was Concert Tom in the mosh pit.
Yeah, that was Slipknot Tom. That's what that was.
He started out like Mr. T almost.
He kind of did.
Right?
You know what?
Mr. Tom, Mr. T.
I pity the fool who doubted me.
You got to play that for Bart. But the problem is you came out of the gate firing, and then you just faded immediately. Only had 3 in you.
Yeah, see, I'm guzzling down a Red Bull as we speak, but I didn't have enough. I guess I didn't guzzle enough down yet. That was all the energy I had.
That's a fair point. It's Bart Carlin, as we said on ESPN New York. Dan Grassa is in for Bart. Game Time is brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, because when it's game time, it's Tully time at 1 o'clock, 1:10 to be exact. Mets facing the Cardinals. Our coverage begins on 880 ESPN New York, starting right here at 1. 6:35, Yankees playing the Nats. 7, Devils host the Sabres. And damn good college basketball game tonight, 7 o'clock. 15th ranked St. John's men's basketball travels to UConn. I believe that game is in Hartford. I don't believe that's in stores. It's in Hartford. Coverage begins right here on 880 ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app starting at 6:40. Tullamore Dew is the original triple distilled, triple blended, triple cask matured Irish whiskey. Be sure to grab a Tullamore Dew or try the new Tullamore Dew Honey during today's action. Glasses up to enjoying Tullamore Dew responsibly. Danny, we got to spend some time on the Jets. Mm-hmm. And Aaron Glenn yesterday with his comments, which came after our show, and, of course, the discussion about him calling the plays. So here is Aaron Glenn on that very topic.
Play call is my superpower, really. To me, play call is my superpower, really. Doing it for 4 years in Detroit, and, man, just look at the maturation of those 4 years of how we improved every year and how I improved as a play caller. I really miss doing that, and I think it's a huge part of helping us become the team that I see us becoming, the team that I knew Mooj sees us becoming, the team that Woody sees us becoming.
Okay, I'm not going to get all wound up by this. I know people were joking around, why didn't you call him last year if it's a superpower and all that? Look, I understood what Aaron Glenn was doing at the beginning, and I don't think that was the worst idea in the world to come in and try to focus on being a head coach. The problem is the defense played as bad as it did under Steve Wilks, and You can try to sell me if you're the Jets on the idea that this was not Woody. You're not going to be able to do that. I get what you want the narrative here to be, that he's taking the reins and all that. At least if I'm Aaron Glenn at this point, if I'm going down swinging, and I'm going down on my own merits as a defensive play caller.
And you have to, right? Because you got to win games. I mean, at the end of the day, because I think that you don't have to be a genius to figure out if this team, Chris, let me ask you a question. This team starts 0-7 again. You think everything is just going to be status quo?
No.
And this is without saying even what the roster is going to look like. And I expect it on paper to be a little bit more formidable than it was last year because they got a lot of salary cap space. They got a lot of draft capital to work with. They're going to go out there and they're going to try to win because for the simple fact, head coach knows that you have to start seeing some results in the standings if he wants to have long-term employment with the franchise.
So to credit Aaron, I went back and looked at the numbers statistically for his defenses over the 4 years in Detroit. Because just from a perception standpoint, Dan, you think about those Detroit teams and you don't think about great defenses. You think about an offense that was high-powered. So his first year, when they won the one game back in 21, they were 31st in points allowed. Then they improved to 27th, 23rd, and then in 2024, they were 7th in points allowed. So it improved dramatically. The yardage, I'm not going to get that caught up in the yardage. The yardage was never great to begin with. But I think when coaches ultimately look at what's most important, it's how many points they're giving up, and that did improve year to year under Aaron Glenn.
Which was the one in his last year you said was 7th? Was that yards or points?
Points.
Okay, points.
Points improved every year that he was the defensive coordinator.
You also have to kind of take it, really do a deep dive when you're looking at those type of statistics.
Sure.
Remember, especially those last 2 years, the Lions were good teams. So they might have had games to where they had leads, significant leads, and in the fourth quarter, from a defensive standpoint, the old expression, you trade yardage for clock.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like play a little prevent, let them move the ball up and down the field, keep the clock running, so let's get out of Dodge and win the game. So sometimes the numbers get a little inflated that way. I give him credit, and I even said this last year when he had no handle on the defense. His last year with Detroit, you got to remember how many guys they lost to injury that season, including Aiden Hutchinson, who was off to a great freaking start. And, he somehow kept that defense together, and they won a division. They had the first round bye, and then Jaden Daniels went in there and picked them apart on that Saturday night of divisional weekend, and they were one and done that season. And Campbell was crying up at the podium after the game. But, look, I think this is something that's a conversation for the offseason because this is the time of year we are in the NFL calendar, right? There's nothing really to talk about other than, okay, what's the plan and what's been going on here in the offseason? So that's why we're caught up because that's the big change. At the end of the day, once this season starts, that's probably the next time this whole who's calling the defense and the superpowers and stuff like that, that's when it's going to be revisited again, right? You got to produce. Because I think at the end of the day, the fans don't care who's the coordinator, who's calling the plays, who's doing this. They just want to see results. And I think at the end of the day, that's what the owner cares about too. Is it working or is it not working? Because, whatever, if you believe the story, like you said, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are skeptical, this is the story that they're going with. They're sticking to it. Fine. Show me the results on Sunday. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're judged on. Not who interviewed, who didn't interview, who came in for a second interview, who wasn't originally on the interview list, but then he gets the defensive coordinator job, how much this guy's making versus how much that coach was going to get paid. At the end of the day, it's all lip service. Just produce on Sunday. And that's what's ultimately going to decide how much longer he's going to be the Jet head coach.
Yeah, and for everybody who's screaming and yelling about why he didn't do it last year, I didn't really get caught up in it. I think for when you're a first-time head coach, it's not the worst thing in the world to be trying to oversee everything and not have entirely too much on your plate with coordinating a defense as well. Now, this year, he obviously has a better understanding of what's involved in the job. The way he spoke about it, he sounds very confident about it. But it's ultimately, as you said, going to come down to the results and who's playing defense for them. I was actually more interested in these comments, and they were from Arvell Reese, who is potentially the number 2 pick. Mel Kiper had him as the Jets pick in his first mock draft a few weeks ago. yesterday, as he put the newest mock draft out, he had them taking Caleb Downs. Arvell Reese was asked about his meeting with the Jets.
That meeting was a lot of install something, wanted to see where my head was at. I think that's a serious organization, and I respect the guys I've met with. I respect that room for sure.
Here's a little bit more on why he expects to be a top 3 pick.
I think I'm different from a lot of guys. I think it's my mindset and the violence I play with. I think I'm comfortable with myself, and I know myself. And I know who I am, and I know I'm a violent player, and I'm a dog, 100%.
So, listen, those are all things that you want to hear, and you better hear when you're at the Combine, and he's well-trained in how to answer them, because there's not an agent alive who would say to him, you know what, do yourself a favor, go up there and say to hell with the Jets. Don't even bother, people. Don't even bother. Of course he's going to say all the good things. And I would hope that somebody of that ability, Dan, we talked about this a lot yesterday with Bart, if you have the chance to get someone who is at a premium position that high in the draft and you're the Jets, you have to do that over drafting a safety at the second spot, even if that safety might happen to be the best player.
Well, so let me ask you a question. Who do you consider to be the best safety in the NFL
right now?
Mm-hmm.
Do we think it's Kyle Hamilton?
Okay. Somebody of that ilk. He's in the conversation.
Yep.
Who's more valuable? If you were starting a team tomorrow, you want Kyle Hamilton or you want Micah Parsons?
Of course I want Micah Parsons.
Right. There you go. Because that's what Arvell Reese could be. All right? If he's unleashed as a full-time edge, because what Arvell Reese did in college, that's what Micah Parsons did in college. Like, Micah Parsons' production at Penn State was not off the charts. But yet he came to the NFL. They put him in a position to, okay, go out on the edge, go kill the quarterback, and you see what's happened.
And Reese, to be fair, Reese played a lot of middle linebacker.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They made the change last year a little bit there, and that's why the numbers are kind of down, right, as far as, like, the sack totals.
Right.
But that's what this guy could – he could be a heat-seeking missile off the edge, and that's why I think you got to make the move. And you're right. I mean, like, all the stuff, it's nice that he says good things about the Jets and this and that. Remember, the NFL has a slotted salary structure for the draft, which means the second overall pick is getting paid more than the third overall pick and the fourth overall pick, and so on and so forth. That's how it works. So, of course, he wants to be the number 2 pick. Whether it's the Jets, whether they make a trade with the Cardinals and they're picking second. Why do you think Fernando Mendoza is talking up the Raiders as if they're coming off of, 2 straight Super Bowls? Because he knows that that's where he's going, and he's going to get paid more than any other first-round pick as the number 1 overall pick in the draft. But if Fernando Mendoza's father pulls an Archie Manning and says that he doesn't want his kid going to the Raiders, well, guess what? He's not going to get that fortunate probably, right? I mean, that's just not the way it's going to work. There's not going to be one of those trades. But, Arvell Reese, he's going to make a lot of money. And if you're the Jets right now on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, defense was bad last year. And they kind of remade that defense during the season, right? Because you took arguably the 2 most talented players on the defense and you traded them in October. So now you almost have to start from scratch. And if the best defensive player in the draft is sitting there at number 2 for you and you believe in your evaluation, it's Arvell Reese, you run the card up to the podium and give it a Goodell.
Let's get a call or 2 in. David and Elizabeth has been patient today. D, what's going on, bud?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on, Dan? What's going on, Chef? All 3 here, you guys on the phone. Let's get straight into it, gentlemen. Grata, don't kill me too much on this. All right, so check this out. I got 2 points for us, right? So me and Chef have in common that we love food, right? So our superpower should be eating. Am I correct?
Theoretically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not for nothing. Look, before he started he's about to start calling plays, we looked at the whole defense from when he got there up until when he left and became the head coach of our Jets. Yeah, the numbers were respectable. We're going to give him that. But he's not, like, when he's talking, it's not that. And like how Dan said, you trade the yardage for time or, the thing that he said basically. I don't know. I just don't buy into it. And the second point I wanted to make was this. Like, you ever see, like, for an example, you guys have went to school and dealt with plenty of people. You ever see how somebody's, like, trying to, steer away from a narrative such as, oh, is Dan coming tonight? Yeah, Dan's coming. Yo, just make sure he doesn't eat all my wings and drink all the Hennessy. Even though when you get to the party, you're going to see Dan go straight to the wings and straight to the drink. He's over there saying that, Woody Johnson doesn't meddle. Yes, he does. Yes, he does, and we all know that. He does meddle.
What do you expect him to say,
He's the
though,
one that
dude?
told you not to hire Wink.
He's the boss. What do you expect him to say?
Like I said, Dave,
I don't know.
Dave, like we said, and look, bottom line, and to Chris, your point, Woody Johnson's the guy who's keeping him employed. Woody Johnson made him one of the highest paid first-time head coaches in the NFL. He's not going to sit there and throw him under the bus. Of course he's going to be overly complimentary towards him. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what happens on Sundays.
Yeah. I also wonder about this, and this is not an informed theory at all. Mm-hmm. As you know, Dan, I pride myself on being as uninformed as possible.
And then you build the theories.
Yes, and build theories based on nothing factual whatsoever. And I want to emphasize that here. I wonder, when you realize how much money Aaron Glenn got for being a first-time head coach, it was 12, 13 million, whatever the number ended up being. It was a big number. Mm-hmm. It was a big number. And it wasn't a public sense that he held up Woody Johnson for that number, but it all didn't unfold immediately. So I'm sure there was some consternation on what that number was going to be at the time. So I would not be shocked if this year, why part of that discussion that we all theorize happened, that Woody basically said, well, you go call the defense. All right, you hung me out there for some more money last year. I'm paying you. Go do that. I don't want to spend another $4 or $5 million or $3 or $4 million on a defensive coordinator. I wouldn't be shocked if I wouldn't call it resentment, but some of those feelings from that negotiation might have come back into play as well.
I don't think it was anything that had to do with the negotiation. I think that the result is the result and the number is the number.
Yeah.
And you could talk about a coordinator all you want. Oh, by the way, I know if I was the one calling the shots, for instance, if this was my business and I ran, a paper supply company, and maybe the numbers aren't that inflated, but if the circumstances were similar with one of my employees, I would say, well, wait a sec. You also, at the end of the year, fired half of a coaching staff, which you sold me on was good. Mm-hmm. And so now I got to pay all those guys that you fired walking out the door. And, oh, by the way, I got to pay more guys that now you have coming in to replace the guys that weren't good enough, on top of all the other guys that I'm still having to pay from previous administrations.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And even if you are somebody that, money grows on trees, there is a limit, I think, for everyone. The thing that I go back to, though, with, this whole thing, when they fired Steve Wilkes last year, and I can't remember, what was the final straw? What was the game where they fired Wilkes? Wasn't there 5 games left?
Week 13-ish?
What was the game, though, that was the final straw? Was it Jacksonville? Jacksonville was the last one, because that was when
48-20.
Yeah, 6 straight touchdowns. Or Trevor Lawrence had 6 touchdowns that day or something like that. So what was their record then? It was 1-12, 2 and whatever. 3, I don't know, but whatever. The season was over at that point is what I'm getting at, okay? If the play calling is a superpower, with 5 games to go in the season where already it's, a pile of soot, why not then just take over the defensive play calling then instead of giving it on to Chris Harris to give him a shot with 5 games to go?
Well, Chris Harris did manage to only give up 29, 42, and 35 the rest of the way.
You know what I'm saying? He said he would have more of a hand in it.
Yeah.
So, and look, I do get, and I do think this is sincere. I do get when Aaron Glenn said last year that he wanted to be a head coach, a CEO, a guy who wasn't going to be married to one side of the football, and that was his intent. The problem that he made is that he entrusted one of those coordinator jobs with a guy who really has not had a lot of success any place he's been as a coordinator.
Hey,
that's Steve Wilkes.
See Don Hahn and Rosenberg live from the Irish Exit Moynihan Train Hall Friday, March 13th, before the semifinals of the Big East tournament. Stop by before heading into the Garden or before your commute home. Don Hahn and Rosenberg live from the Irish Exit at Moynihan Train Hall starting at 3 p.m. Friday, March 13th, just steps away from Madison Square Garden and Penn Station. It's brought to you by Schweppes Above the Rim Refreshment. Feel the madness and refresh your game with a Schweppes Seltzer or Schweppes Ginger Ale, and by Sam Adams and Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. available at Jack Doyle's and John Sullivan's. Must be 21 or older to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Little sideline to sideline.
It's going to happen. This is Sideline to Sideline. Go. With Bart and Carlin.
Tom Bauer, the floor is yours.
Well. Where do we start here?
Got your voice back, I see. That's good.
Yeah. Barely have it back. We'll see if I can make it to the end of the segment.
Yeah, a little bit. A little hoarse.
Yeah, it's what happens when you unleash, like, the demons are inside Tom Bauer.
I would hate to see you at like 4 o'clock in the morning after a Slipknot concert on a Saturday night to see what that looks like.
It would not be a pleasant Sunday morning for you. Let me put it that way.
There'd be like blood coming out of your mouth.
It could happen. I'm not going to put anything past that.
Bauer rolling out of Starland Ballroom.
Oh, I've had some nice mosh pit experiences there. It's wonderful.
I was more of an Unca Bunca guy, but that's just me.
What about Club Benet?
18 to party, 21 to drink.
It's funny.
At any rate,
Tom doesn't even know what that is.
No, I have no idea.
He has no idea.
No idea.
Tom never hit the trade winds down the shore. He was 2.
No, I'm a Stone Pony guy. I don't know what the Unca Bunca is.
Sayreville. Look it up. Go ahead. Anyway.
At any rate, the Giants, their top free agent target would probably be Tyler Linderbaum if they are searching for another offensive lineman. The problem with that is that Eric DeCosta wants Tyler Linderbaum back and is willing to pay a premium. In fact, he's quoted as saying they have made a market-setting proposal for Linderbaum. Now, Creed Humphrey, he's currently leading all centers with $18 million per season. That's how much he's getting paid. So the Giants, if they want Tyler Linderbaum, they're gonna have to pay up. They're gonna have to certainly pay a premium.
I don't expect Tyler Linderbaum to even be available, to tell you the truth. When free agency starts, he's either going to be tagged or he's going to have a new contract. There's no way to me that Baltimore is going to let him get out of town.
And the fact that, they already came out and admitted as much. Like, they're not trying to play secret or anything. They said, we've made a market-setting offer. It tells you where he ranks on their priority list. And, I would be shocked if he's not wearing a Ravens uniform. Because like you said, they could tag him at the very least.
Yeah, stunned. Next.
How about everybody's favorite wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles? That would be A.J. Brown. And Nick Sirianni is not going to make a guarantee whether or not he's going to be with the team next season. There is mutual interest between the front office, Sirianni, and A.J. Brown for a return. However, Sirianni said yesterday, will A.J. be here next season? I think we're still in a spot like I can't guarantee how anything is going to play out into next season. I'm thinking I'm going to be the coach next season, but you can't guarantee anything past tomorrow.
I would not expect him to be in Philadelphia. I'm not going to be shocked if he ends up getting traded to the Patriots and Mike Vrabel.
100%, especially if they move on from Diggs.
I'll give AJ some credit, too. He put a video out on, I think it was on TikTok, but it was basically about Rondale Moore and all of the terrible things that we've seen, Marshawn Nealand and suicide and mental health and all this, really trying to raise more awareness for it and what it's like being a player. It was very cool. It was a good 9 minutes, but it was really A.J. Brown opening up in a big way about it, and I credit him for doing that for sure. All right, next, Tom.
So there could have been another quarterback on the market this offseason that we were speculating because of his poor play with the Texans, and that would be C.J. Stroud. A lot of us have kind of predicted that maybe he'll be in trade talks, but Nick Caserio, their GM, said those trade talks are, quote, moronic. We are not trading the guy. He is our quarterback. Stroud's going to be playing quarterback for the Houston Texans in 2026.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and I mean this with no disrespect, he's their problem.
Oh, you don't want that to be the Jets' problem?
No, because I've just never been a Stroud. Even after that tremendous first season he had, I just still was not sold that this was going to be, like one of the guys for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I certainly was. And I can't justify making a trade for a guy that, was doing everything he could to give the football away in the playoffs. Like, really, it looked at times like he was trying hard. There was some Chauncey Billups in there.
And it was multiple games, right? It wasn't just that last
No,
game.
it was
the last few games. And, it was really a tricky spot for DeMeco Ryans because it's like, I know he's your guy. You don't want to waver confidence. But, there are no tomorrows in the playoffs. You got to do what you can. Your defense was playing well enough to win you that game. And your offense was literally just giving it right back to New England. Like, I don't know how you didn't go to the bullpen and go with Davis Mills that day in the second half.
I was shocked. I don't know how you could justify it, especially as well as Davis Mills had played when Stroud was hurt earlier in the year.
You just needed competence at the position.
Yeah.
Competence. Like, literally, do not give the ball to New England.
Next.
So here's 2 quarterback notes for you. Former Giants' favorite quarterback, Daniel Jones, and the Colts are working on an extension, or maybe he'll be franchise tag with the franchise to keep him there long term as he kind of recovers from injury and hopes that he can continue to resurrect his career out there. Speaking of other quarterbacks, there's one that he's going to be cut by the start of the league year. That will be Kirk Cousins from the Atlanta Falcons. He is expected to be released from the franchise to become a quarterback into the vast pool that is free agency. Maybe a pickup by the New York Jets.
Dan, here's the thing that bothers me about it, and I was thinking about this more last night. I don't want to bring in somebody who didn't want to be here twice before, right? When he felt like he had better options, he blew me off like a piece of lint. I don't want to be Kirk Cousins' last option here.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. And on that note, though, to what Jordan was saying, by the time we get to, like, early next week, because dirty little secret for those who don't know with the NFL, like the legal tampering period begins March, whatever it is,
9th.
like before the 9th.
Yep.
And then you wonder, how do they have an agreement 5 minutes into the tampering period? Because these conversations are forged kind of at the combine.
They're happening right now, yeah.
They're happening right now. So even as we get to next week, like, we're going to start to hear some things trickle out about this team attached to this player and so on and so forth, because things are happening in Indianapolis. But I think the Cousins thing, you're spot on. He used the Jets for leverage in 2018. He signed with the Vikings. Jets drafted Sam Darnold, and, congrats to Sam. But I think that the way they go with the quarterback position tells you a couple of things. Number one, we talked about the head coach wanting to win games. He might want a little bit more of a sure thing at quarterback because he needs to win games, maybe to keep his job. General manager might be looking at it more long-term and saying, I'm going to get a guy who's a placeholder just for this year. Get me to 27, and then I'll draft my franchise quarterback, where if they have another 3-4 win season this year, might be another head coach with that rookie quarterback in 27.
Next.
This last bit of news on Sideline to Sideline is just for the Chris Carlin out there. Oh, I think I know. I think he knows where I'm going with this. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, do you have any deadlines that you're going to be facing with the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of, are you going to announce a return or not? Well, Omar Khan said, I don't really want to say that it has to be done by March 11th. He would like to have an idea, but it just isn't going to be, or isn't going to go like it did last year in terms of, this might be a played-out process for the Pittsburgh Steelers to determine if Aaron Rodgers will actually be their quarterback or not by the start of the summer.
No, just let it go. It's not important. As long as he's there by week 3 of training camp, that's fine. Kill me.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think, and normally the Steelers are a well-run, smart organization.
Which is what's the most aggravating thing about
They've got the trophies to prove it. Don't you think, and I know this would be like the absolute worst way to go about doing business, but don't you think there's even a smallish chance that part of the reason Mike McCarthy was hired is because he has a familiarity with the quarterback?
Yeah, but here's what I don't get. Didn't Aaron Rodgers help get him fired? Kind of did.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers, though, went to management and said, fire Mike McCarthy. If you want to say the performance on the field contributed to the decision, that's one thing. But I don't think he went to them and said, I don't think he went to, the powers that be with the Green Bay Packers at the time and said, I can't.
But when something like that happens, there's a difference between going to the management and saying fire him, or management coming to you and saying, hey, we're thinking about this, and your response is kind of, listen, that's not my job. You guys do what you got to do. I kind of.
But do you think?
Could you imagine him being passive aggressive? Because I could.
Well, I mean, at that point, sure. But if they, I don't know, pick a guy. I don't know who it is. If it was, let's say the Steelers plucked Chris Shula from the Rams, and made him a first-time head coach. Is Aaron Rodgers coming back to play for Chris Shula? No, that's what I mean.
No. Oh no! Listen, I'm very happy that they hired Mike McCarthy because I think he's very underrated. But that was my first thought: I've got at least another year of this crap.
And I'm shocked because I never thought that Rodgers would last more than 1 year with the Steelers. Meaning, like, I thought he had one more year left of football, and then it's, okay, right off into the sunset.
I have never thought that.
They could talk up Will Howard all they want. I mean, Will Howard might as well be Mo Howard for right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sold on him. Meaning they don't have an in-house option for a quarterback of the future.
I love the Stooges. I love the Three Stooges. I'm such an old man, but I love the Three Stooges.
Did you ever bother to sit through any of these like Stooges movies they've made with people portraying the Stooges?
Oh no! I didn't want to know the sad truth behind it. There was an actual theatrical
production. There was like a made-for-TV one. I couldn't be bothered with either.
No, if there was somebody of note who played Larry Fine. I'm trying to remember who it was.
Yes,
I remember Michael Chiklis was in one of them, right?
Yeah, he played Larry Fine. That's who it was. Michael Chiklis
was Larry Fine. He wasn't Curly?
I think. I mean, now I got to go. Now you got me going down a rabbit hole. I'll do it during the break. Bart Carlin, we find out if you're the Nozzle next.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-372-2017. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017.
Call 877-CARS-FOR-KIDS to reach a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now or go to carsforkids.org.
Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
Have you ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. NBA Futures let you lock in your pick for who you think will go all the way, whether it's a team to win the championship or a conference title. Have you ever wanted to go to the NBA Finals? Well, now's your chance, courtesy of FanDuel. All you have to do is use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. Visit FanDuel.com/local to get started. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus and physically present in New York. No purchase necessary. Limit one entry for Profit Boost token. Opt-in required. Must apply Profit Boost token on select market. Restrictions apply. See full terms including methods of entry at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. That's ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN. ZipRecruiter.com/ESPN.
ZipRecruiter. Hey, it's Alan Hahn. Rings End is your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. They're your store for quality with a full line of brilliant and durable Benjamin Moore paints. They're your store for inspiration with thousands of colors and a variety of sheens. And Rings End is your store for expertise with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. Insist on Benjamin Moore paint from Rings End because the gorgeous color you love can't be matched in another brand of paint.
Smalls here. Did you know there are many ways to do your taxes with H&R Block? You can go to a local office and get expert help in person, or you can choose virtual tax prep and get expert help without leaving home. Or you can even do them yourself online with live human help standing by. Whatever you choose, you can file with confidence, having H&R Block's 70-plus years of tax expertise in your corner. Switch today and file your way at hrblock.com.
Evan Cohen here. In life, as in sports, the pros make it look easy. That's why pro golfers like Jason Day, Ben Griffin, and Patton Kazire trust the pros in lawn care. True Green. They have the experience and expertise to give you a lawn worthy of the PGA Tour. And since True Green does the work for you, you get more free time, or more tee times. So stop stressing over your lawn and start loving it. Sign up now at TrueGreen.com because nobody makes it easier to get a golf course quality lawn than True Green, the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour.
It's a battle of Big East Titans when 15th-ranked St. John's visits 5th-ranked UConn. Coverage begins today at 6:40 on 880 ESPN and the ESPN New York app.
New York soccer fans, are you ready? Saturday, March 7th, the New York City FC opens the season at home against Orlando City. Kickoff set for 2:30 p.m. at Yankee Stadium. It's an Eastern Conference matchup you don't want to miss as New York City FC returns to the Bronx. Be there when the boys in blue take the field for the first time this season at home. For your chance to be there in person, enter now at ESPNNewYork.com or through the ESPN New York app. Tickets are available now at Ticketmaster.com/NYCFC. To clarify, there was the 2012 movie, which was a modern-day Three Stooges, if you will.
Yeah.
Which was not like a biography about them. This was just more, modern Stooges.
And it was a bomb, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a complete bomb.
Yeah.
You had in that one Sean Hayes of Will and Grace fame.
He was Larry.
And then Will Sasso, the comedian, played Curly. And Chris Diamantopoulos played Mo. Not familiar with his work.
No.
But then in the 2000 made-for-TV movie, The Three Stooges, produced, by the way, by Mel Gibson, Paul Ben Victor played Mo. Again, a character actor that if you saw him, it would be, oh, that guy.
He's in a bunch of commercials. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes. Evan Handler played Larry, who was in Californication. He was in Sex and the City.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
And then you were correct. Michael Chiklis playing Curly. My bad there. I don't know why I had it in my head that Chiklis was playing Larry.
And so in both of these adaptations, nobody bothered to squeeze in a Shemp role.
Well, they did, actually. John Kassir in the 2000 biopic was cast as Shemp.
I'm not familiar with John Kassir. Got to think back. I don't remember the Shemp. Not that I saw, every scene, but I just don't remember because that would have at least jumped out at you a little bit.
Yeah, no, Shemp.
I was a big Shemp guy. I like Shemp. Funny guy.
You like Shemp?
Yeah, I was a big Shemp guy. I know it's kind of like a love him, you hate him type thing. I was a Shemp guy.
No, wasn't Shemp just Mo, but like taller?
And he would bear.
I already got
a
Mo here.
He would get more punishment, I think, than Mo, because Mo was like the ringleader.
Yeah, he was like the ringleader, but Shemp. I felt like Shemp. I was always a Curly guy. During the Curly shuffle out at
Did
Shea.
you ever hear that story back in the day, like on the It was actually on the Howard Stern show, believe it or not, where you want to play like 6 degrees of separation. Mo and Tom Bergeron, the host, the old host of Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, and also some Hollywood Squares at one point.
Correct. Back, I don't know where he was. He was just starting out in his career. He might have even been in college or something like that. So, like, Tom Bergeron was a guest of the Stern show. And I don't know how they got on the subject, but he said once upon a time he interviewed Mo. So this was like way after the Stooges. Mo was like an old man, like towards the end or whatever, and got Mo on the phone for an interview. And apparently, like, he got Mo's number from Larry. Because he asked him, like, how did you get my number? And he said, I got it from Larry. And Mo was like, Larry. like Newman.
Son of a...
I'm telling, so like that, it was the craziest thing, and I don't remember all like the details, but this was like years ago on the show. But like, yes, Tom Bergeron, and he had the tapes too.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Crazy.
Just the idea of Larry pawning off Tom Bergeron on Mo and giving up the number without even telling him.
When did the Stooges end? Like, I mean, was
1930s.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's ages ago.
Yeah, that's like late 1930s. I don't think World War II had started yet. I'm pretty sure. Anyway.
Wizard of Oz was a rumor.
Let's find out if you're in the Nozzle. Hit it.
There are two sides to every story.
Everybody need to keep a cool booty, okay?
We're here to judge.
I plead the fifth.
Am I right?
Adoring.
Or am I the Nozzle?
I was wrong.
There are those times when you'll look in the mirror and say, is it me here? Am I wrong about this? Or is everybody else just completely out of their mind? So we're here to find out if you are the Nozzle, and who better to educate us on that than Tom Bauer. Hello, Tom.
Hello. From one nozzle to these nozzles, potentially. So, at any rate, last week on this segment, we talked about curling because Canada, they kind of cheat in curling nowadays.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, they won the gold medal in the event at the Olympics. And one of their little curlers, Brad Jacobs, I believe is his name, had the following quote after they won the gold medal. For anyone who calls us cheaters, for anyone who said negative things about Mark Kennedy, the guy who was accused of double touching, about us, about Canada, about our families, I hope that the image of standing on top of the podium, embracing one another, smiling ear to ear with our gold medals is burned into your brain forever. Well, no, Brad, because the image of your teammate double touching the stone is going to be ingrained into my brain forever because you're forever going to be known as a cheater. I'll put an asterisk on this curling gold medal. Nozzle statement, yay or nay?
Is the statement Nozzle statement level? I mean, it's up there. It's up there. When there's video evidence that your guy cheated, it's hard to dispute that. And you maybe just let it go. Maybe just let cooler heads prevail in that. Yeah, I got to say Nozzle statement right there, although I kind of admire it.
I actually wasn't even aware that there was a cheating controversy.
Oh, yeah. The guy started cursing the captain. I don't know, was it captain of the Canada curling team?
I believe so.
Accused in the middle against the U.S., correct?
This was against Sweden.
Oh, against Sweden. Listen, when the Swedish get after it, as you know, throw everything out the door. They are sticklers for the rules. And he basically started cursing F you and F this and F that in the middle of a match when they were accused of cheating. But the Swedish had video evidence that he had cheated.
International diplomacy goes out the window whenever you're talking about, the serious curling type of rules and things. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Sore winner?
A little bit.
Little Nozzle?
I think you can make a case for sure.
Okay.
There's still that element to it.
Nozzle and little Nozzle, Tom. Next.
I go big Nozzle, but that's okay. At any rate, so...
Why do you hate Canada? Apparently we all do, but why do you hate Canada, Tom?
More on that on the Michael K. Show.
Yes. He'll lead with that at 1 o'clock.
Exactly. The World Baseball Classic is approaching us, and I personally love it. And I'm going to be rooting hard for Team USA during the World Baseball Classic, but I do have a little personal beef with Tarek Skubal because he was supposed to be one of the headlining starting pitchers for Team USA, And then he comes out and says the other day, I'm only going to pitch one game for you, and then I'm going to return to the Tigers. And maybe, if you make the championship game, I'll be in the dugout to support you guys. Well, Mr. Scooble, isn't that kind of a nozzle if you're just going to say, I'm only going to do one game and then leave and then come back? Why even hype him up as part of Team USA? Why even put him on the team if all he's going to give you is one, maybe 5-inning start and then leave the team?
Dan, your thoughts?
My thoughts are, well, first of all, I think you guys know how I feel about the WBC. I think it's a complete waste of time. If I'm putting myself in Tarek Scooble's shoes, I'm potentially looking at $400 million next offseason. I am not going to jeopardize that in a silly made-up tournament that was only conceived, in the last how many years?
12 years or so, something like that.
It's been around since 2006.
And you know what, if I get and here's what I also know, that if I'm in camp with the Tigers, I'm not going to be pushing it as much as I would have to in these meaningful games in the WBC.
100%. I stand with you, Grosso. Listen, I'll be into watching the WBC a little bit, but if I'm Tarek Scooble, I'm sorry, this is just bad timing for you. If I had the contract already locked up, I'll be out there showing up for you. But
right,
I'm sorry. That kind of cash, I am not going to go out there and force anything on my body to do that when it doesn't mean a damn thing.
Especially the uncertain nature of what the offseason is going to look like in baseball next year anyways.
Yeah, listen. So, Tom, answer is both Dan and I hate America.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are making that known. At any rate, I'm going to be quick with this next one. So the return of boxing, I believe you and Bart talked about this earlier this week, Chris, how there's going to be a Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao fight number 2 for them. And I absolutely hate this because at this point, we already know the first fight between them was a nothing burger. They barely looked like they were fighting at each other out there. It's like they were pretty much hugging and kissing the entire time. And now they're coming back saying we're going to do an actual sanctioned fight. No, you're not. You're just going to run around the ring. You're going to do it so you guys can each make $50 million. I hate the idea. Just please be done with this whole gimmick of bringing on these old washed-up fighters at this point. I know they're 2 of the greatest of all time. I'm good personally.
Yeah, for me, I'm sorry. The Nozzle. I'm straight. I don't need it. I'm with you too. I don't need to see this fight happen again. It wasn't a great fight 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and it ain't going to be a great fight now.
I thought Mayweather was supposed to be fighting Mike Tyson in some
He is.
exhibition.
He's doing that first, but that's like an exhibition, like a 3-round thing. It's not like anything that's really going to count. This thing is going to apparently count toward their records.
What is this obsession with seeing boxers in their 50s,
I don't
going
know.
out there and trying to
Bart and
fight
I
each
had
other?
this argument, and I think it just has something to do with the fact that there are no headline grabbers right now, at least to me. I am a very casual boxing fan.
Yeah.
Very casual. There's
I
nothing.
checked out a long time ago.
Yeah, there is nothing that has really sucked my interest in lately. There really hasn't been any. Bart disagrees but he's a huge boxing guy.
Yeah, that's his baby.
So you will not be locked in on Mayweather and Pacquiao.
No. Now is that a Netflix
yes,
too?
It is a Netflix deal. At the very least, you're not getting hit again on a pay-per-view deal.
So John Winthrop won't be able to watch.
Correct. We found out today John Winthrop does not have Netflix.
Yeah. And I was
don't
surprised
know.
about that. I consider myself, I was one of the last of the Mohicans in terms of getting Netflix, and I did it only because of the pandemic. Once we were up a creek without a paddle. But, I even had that.
Tiger King put you over the edge. You had to be able to see it.
You know what? I never watched Tiger King.
Oh, you missed out. You should.
Yeah, because the whole world was watching it. I was like, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah. Oh, you're one of those guys. You're a contrarian.
No, I don't consider myself. I think I'm not in general, but with that one I was.
John somehow has Paramount Plus, but he doesn't have Netflix. Okay. God bless you. I don't know. Tubi. No Netflix, though. Bart Carlin, ESPN New York.
Rich Eisen here. For small businesses, every hire counts, and so does your time. Hiring can quickly become overwhelming, from sorting applications to figuring out who's truly qualified. That's where LinkedIn Hiring Pro helps. It streamlines the process so you can focus on connecting with the right candidates, not managing the noise. Hire right the first time. Post your job and get $100 off towards your job post at linkedin.com/Eisen. That's linkedin.com/Eisen. Terms and conditions apply. Rich Eisen here. As you all know, I care deeply about pediatric cancer research and awareness. That's why I'm proud to talk about Hyundai Hope on Wheels. For over 27 years, every Hyundai sold has helped fund life-saving pediatric cancer research. Together with over 850 dealers nationwide, they've raised more than $277 million, supporting over 25,000 kids in their fight against cancer. At Hyundai, hope isn't optional. It comes standard. Visit HyundaiUSA.com and search Hyundai Hope on Wheels to learn more.
Think premium meat has to come with a premium price? Not at Wild Fork Foods. Right now, Brazilian beef tenderloin is only $10 a pound, and Atlantic salmon portions are just $9.98 a pound. That's incredible value on premium cuts. Plus, Wild Fork offers over 450 meat and seafood options, all blast frozen to lock in freshness and flavor. Visit one of their 7 locations across Long Island and New Jersey, or get same-day delivery at wildforkfoods.com.
It starts with the first early morning, the uniform, the training, the challenge. Every trooper remembers day one at the academy. But where they end up, no two stories are the same. At the New York State Police, the path you take is up to you. If you're ready for a career with endless opportunities for growth, start here. Go anywhere. Apply today at joinstatepolice.ny.gov.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-372-2017. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017. 800-372-2017.
March the 20th of 2026, there's one place to be. And that place is Pickleball Heaven. Pickleball Heaven. It's a pickleball facility, massive facility in Medford, New York. We're going to do the show there that day from 6 to 10. Then there's a tournament. And then after we win the tournament, Rick, we'll stay and watch some basketball with the people. Now, the worst part of all this is the name. Listen, I got to participate in Rickleball Madness. What do you want from me?
You're a teammate of Rickleball. Yeah, right. You're part of the event. You're the co-headliner.
If my name was Dave Pickleball, it would still be Rickleball Madness.
I think that's accurate. I don't want this kind of pressure. I would prefer it be named after you.
No, you don't. You want all the shine.
No, I don't. Call whatever you want.
Dave's Pickleball Extravaganza.
Sorry, Dave. We're still calling it Rickleball Madness. And it's Friday, March 20th at Pickleball Heaven in Medford, New York. To sign up and register to play, go to the ESPN New York app and click on the Rickleball tile.
All right, people. Game time brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, because when it's game time, it's Tully time. 1:10. Mets facing the Cardinals. Coverage begins here on 880 ESPN New York, starting right at 1 at the top of the hour in a few minutes. 6:30, Yankees playing the Nationals. 7 o'clock, Devils host the Sabres. And also at 7, 15th ranked St. John's men's basketball travels to UConn. Coverage begins right here on 880 ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app, starting at 6:40. Tullamore Dew is the original triple distilled, triple blended, triple cask matured Irish whiskey. Be sure to grab a Tullamore Dew or try the new Tullamore Dew Honey during today's action. Glasses up to enjoying Tullamore Dew responsibly. Also, it should be noted, for those wondering, where's the Michael K. Show? Oh, fear not. The Michael K. Show is coming up on YouTube, on the ESPN New York YouTube channel, and on the ESPN New York app as well. So you will get your dose of K. And that is what's really important for the K-heads out there.
And that's what the app is for.
Would you want to be called a K-head?
No.
That's probably not good in a few different ways, but
no.
The K-sters people, you know, K-Nation and such. It's Bart and Carlin, ESPN New York. Dan Grassa in for Bart today at 800-919-3776. I just am kind of thrown off by the whole discussion around the Jets with what the offseason looks like with Dan, where they're going to spend versus where they're going to draft. And if I was to ask you that question with a minute and 45 seconds remaining, your answer would be what? Where will they spend versus where they draft?
I think the defense needs the biggest overhaul, first and foremost. So I think they're going to be pretty active in that front because you could look at all three levels of the defense and say they need help. They need help. They need help. In the past, you could say you had impact players at all three levels. Now you can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that the defensive side of the ball is going to be dealt with a lot in free agency. And then I think, not that you ever want to be pigeonholed into drafting for need specifically, but I think what they do in free agency is going to dictate a lot of what they do come draft day, especially with those 4 picks in the first 2 rounds.
I would like to be able to spend more money defensively where I don't have to spend massive money. In other words, discussed this a little bit earlier. I would rather have the Jets draft at a position like pass rush,
right,
where I'm not laying out a ton of money to pay for that position. And if that means I end up trading away a Will McDonald or a Jermaine Johnson, then that's kind of what that means. But if I have to play this year with 3 guys who are all going to be cheap, I can also make that work too.
Well, you're also not going to overpay for a position if you don't feel the player's worth it. Like, Trey Hendrickson's a free agent. I don't think they're going to go spend money on Trey Hendrickson. So you know what? Like you said, edge rusher, if you think it's Arvell Reese, you get him second overall, that's a guy you're going to have pretty cheap for a few years before you got to give him an extension. You hope he plays well enough to merit the extension.
Okay, Mets baseball coming up on 880 ESPN and over on the ESPN New York YouTube channel and on the ESPN New York app. It is the Michael Kay Show. Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg later, right here on ESPN New York.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6759. Don't